This and every episode of the Hook It podcast in 2017 has been supported by 35 Bikes. 35 Bikes are dedicated to bringing you the best bike components for the best prices. So, if you're in the need for some new brake pads, maybe because the trails are getting a little bit gnarly, a bit wet, a bit sandy, grindy, gritty, head to 35bikes.com, enter promo code podcast, and you can take advantage of 20% off your entire order and also free shipping. That's 35bikes.com, promo code podcast, free shipping, spend your Christmas cash. Boom. 2018 is knocking on the door, folks. In fact, by the time you listen to this, it might even already be 2018. There's no point looking back. What's done is done, and it's time to make a couple of New Year's resolutions to springboard you into what's going to be the best year of your life. Here's an idea for you. Improve your underwear game. Throw out those stained undies, you know, those ones that are yellow up front and like an off brown out the back. There's no point hanging on to them anymore. They aren't lucky. They haven't been lucky since the late 90s. So kickstart the year right. Head to saxunderwear.com, and from there you can step up your underwear game. You can be proud of the fabric that's keeping your balls in check and your gooch from being a sticky, sweaty, stinking mess. Saxunderwear.com, people. Life-changing underwear. Right. Here we go.
Welcome to the Hook It podcast, endorsed by @ODub_23. Add me, tag me. Follow me. Please follow me.
What's up, podcasters? Welcome back. Episode number 40. Totally unplanned, but here we are. I hope everyone has had a glorious Christmas, and if you're listening to this after the event, then a Happy New Year to you too. Guys, we are coming into 2018 hot. We'll be launching a brand new Hook It Products website early January. We'll be at the Bike Place Trade Show 2, which is mid-January, and I'm just generally stoked and excited for what 2018 is going to bring. I've got a good feeling in the waters. This one's going to be a banger. As usual, thanks a bunch for all the support throughout 2017 with this podcast. This episode is just a few of my personal favourite highlights, inspiring stories and funny stories too, all terribly produced into this podcast episode. So enjoy it. We'll be back again early January with episode number 41 with a rad, awesome guest. I can't wait to do it. And yeah, enjoy this episode, guys. Joe wanted me to ask you about some guy that lives near you, I think. Is it Uncle Regis, something?
Uncle Reg, yeah.
I'd say Uncle Reg. I didn't know how
He's
to
a buddy
say
of
it.
ours.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
what's
funny.
the story with this guy?
Yeah, he's just, his name's Regis, but
Right.
we call him Uncle Reg. He's just, he goes to school with my brother. Like, my brother goes to college, like, half an hour down the road. So, Regis, he's just one of our friends from there. And,
Great.
yeah, it's just,
I had a look at his Instagram earlier. I don't know, for some reason looking on yours, and I saw a photo of him, and I was like, okay, oh, that's the guy. So I looked on it, and man, if anyone out there doesn't follow this kid, you've got to go follow him. It's hilarious.
For sure. Uncle Reg on Instagram. Everyone go follow. Yeah,
It's hilarious.
It's super funny. Like, I think my brother actually started that account. Like, we just didn't know about it, and just taking the funny photos of all the stupid shit he does and stuff. So
Yeah, I was
and
laughing
then
my ass
I
off.
think like 3 or 4 people have the password for it, and we just he's a good buddy of ours. Just like loads of fun to hang out with. So.
Okay. Yeah, the
that's
first thing
that's
when
funny.
I said to Joe, I was like, yeah, I've got Luca coming on, and he's like, ask him about Uncle Regis. He obviously spelled it wrong, but I was like, okay, yeah, I will do. I didn't really know why, but I was like, yeah, sure. You could have said anything so right funny. Then, and I'd have been like, oh no.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny when I saw Joe in Santa Cruz a couple weeks ago. Yeah. He was asking me the same, like, oh, what's up with this Regis guy you guys hang out with? And it was so funny because that day he had just texted me, and his bike fell off my brother's truck when they were driving down the road, and it got smashed to bits.
Like, oh, road bike.
Yeah, completely destroyed it. So
I once saw Steve punch somebody. You might not even remember this. Obviously, I know Steve. I've known Steve for quite a long time. I once saw Steve punch somebody at the Motocross Destinations in about 2000 and probably even earlier than that. Maybe like whenever it came to England, maybe like 2004, 2005, and it was possibly the best punch I've ever seen in my entire life. It was clean, crisp, to the chin of a young kid.
Oh my god!
So
that doesn't surprise me, really.
Oh man, it was brutal. Like the whole event kind of turned into a riot in the evening. So like the riot police were there, and then this young kid, like quite young. I'm not going to say how young he looked. It might get him in some trouble. But
8 years old.
It was pretty young. So this young kid picked up a glass bottle and like threw it into the crowd. And Steve, I remember he had like half a sandwich in his mouth, food all over himself, just walked over and just cracked him. It was brilliant. Man. Yeah, it was brilliant. So for sure, choose Steve every time.
Cool. Yeah.
Is there like a huge jump then when he goes from like being a smaller privateer team, I guess satellite team I'd call it, I don't know if that's a technical term, but then like you jump onto like a Trek like factory deal, is it a massive difference for you as a rider? Like do you get a lot more support and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure, but I found like the way I was put into it, I had to pay when I was on MS Evo. I paid, I think I paid for some flights, but I had to pay for my food and sleep on the bus, and I felt like that really, kind of opened my eyes to like, I can do better than this, and
right.
I can, make a salary and be staying in a hotel and that sort of thing. And I think, like looking back on it now, I appreciate it a lot. A lot of how, all my hard work that I've done has paid off. I haven't just gone onto a factory ride, with a salary, everything paid for. Whereas, it's kind of, you look back and you're like, yeah, I definitely deserve where I am now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it makes a big difference, with a factory ride. Obviously with all the help, mechanic and that sort of thing. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I
felt like, sleeping on the bus with MS Evo.
Yeah.
It kind of made things a lot better when I could, actually stay in hotels and apartments and that sort of thing. So
get a good sleep, focus on actually riding the bike, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's cool. It's good to see, like, how you can progress over,
like you said there, man,
so many years.
It makes you realise where you've come and kind of not take it for granted and stuff, Yeah, what do you think of the tracks right now?
I like, to be honest, it's like it would be so good to have a change, like mix it up. Mm-hmm. Fort William is always going to be good, I like that track too. But the likes of Leo Gang,
Bike park stuff.
It's all one line and nothing. It doesn't really separate any riders. You need to bring back like Champery and Schladming.
Yeah, for sure.
All the good tracks. It'd be good to bring all those back.
Do you think it's a lot of it's TV coverage or not? Like trying to make it easy for people to watch, or
I think
or easy to film. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's to do with that, and I guess like the resorts of, having to pay for to host the World Cup there. So I think it's
No,
I think it's whoever's got the money to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, like you though, man. I want to see it gnarly and riders going to tracks and been like excited to ride the places and stuff like that. And I think from what I've heard, that's kind of, you know, Bryceland's deal is he sounds like he's a little bit bored of the whole World Cup scene, which is cool. Like, it's fair enough.
Yeah. I think the same as Sam as well. Sam Hill, I think.
Yeah.
You know, kind of over riding the same tracks for, you know, numerous years. And, like, I just don't, And I agree with those guys for sure, too. It's a bit disappointing when you go to a track like Leogang and it's pretty straightforward, you know, like it's got boom sections and then into a straight we go in like, you know, 50, 60K and then into, you know, a little bit of technical woods and then a rock garden and then a chute and then you kind of finish, you know. It's pretty, when it sounds like that, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, especially when you put it like that.
Yeah, and everything's so close, like, you know, the times are so tight. Nothing's really separated. Yeah, it's more dangerous too because you're just really on the limit, just trying to get a 10th somewhere or something like that. Yeah, exactly. And I'd like to see it go back to old school, like, you know. Like
I think everybody would, man. I think people need to rally together, get some gnarly tracks again, you know.
Okay, my name is Hannah Barnes. The mountain bike Hannah Barnes. A few people have been confusing me with the road cyclist.
Yeah.
I remember there was her interview and my photo in a once. So
no, that's criminal.
No way, you work in a cafe as well. I thought, no, that's strange. But someone said, congrats on winning like road world champs. Like, no, it wasn't me.
Just take it anyway though.
yeah. But so I race and ride and kind of travel around mountain biking and all over really, and ride for Specialized, and I live in Fort William, just out of Fort William.
Okay, very good. Very good. Perfect.
I just went to a few races to cheer Joe on and thought, this looks great, everyone's so nice, such a nice scene and atmosphere, and just looks really good fun. So I thought, instead of watching and cheering, I should just get a bike and start riding as well.
Yeah.
So I just loved it straight away. Okay. But Joe raced downhill, but it wasn't really for me. I just loved riding around the woods and the more cardio.
Yeah, probably post enduro too. So
like, exactly.
Cross country sort of stuff.
Exactly. More cross country stuff. Just riding round and round for hours around the woods, just loving it.
Sweet.
So
sounds ideal.
Yeah.
Sounds ideal. So your family pulled you out of school and took you sailing, is that right?
Yeah. So I was 14 and Joe is a year and a half younger, so he was 12, 13. Yeah, 12 and a half. There you go. And then we just set off from Fort William in our sailing boat and headed off for a year and went to the Caribbean and back. And then we had the intention of studying and doing our schoolwork whilst we were away, but then soon realised there were far more exciting things to be doing and we could catch up when we got back. So we just explored and went snorkeling and swimming and
so did you live on the boat the whole time for a year as well?
Yeah, we all slept on the boat, lived on the boat, the whole time, all year. That's amazing. It was brilliant. So I think for the entire year, for the four of us to live, it was about, I think we managed to spend just under about $6,000.
Right, really?
It's quite amazing for four of us to live and sail to the Caribbean and back.
Wow.
So I think people would think, gosh, you must be a really extravagant kind of fancy
wealthy
thing, but
family.
Actually, just like but it's just so nice, like fishing and just like going to the local markets and living like really simply. It was absolutely brilliant.
So the whole Specialized thing then, and becoming a brand ambassador for Specialized, how did that kind of come around? Were you riding Canyon? Is that right? Before?
No, I was riding with after Orange. I was with Silverfish and Yeti for 1 year.
Okay.
Just for Yeti, but it was through Silverfish, the UK distributor for Yeti. So, and that was great, and they were another group of great guys, and that was a really good year. And then I got I think I was on my way to finale for the EWS there, and then I got a Facebook message from just really briefly read it in the airport from someone at Specialized. I just thought maybe it's a bike shop kind of stocking a Specialized bikes, saying, "Oh, we'd like to kind of work with you, blah, blah, blah." And I thought, oh, right, okay, well, I'm already with, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and it's okay. And I thought it was like a bike shop kind of style thing. And I said, oh, no, it's okay, but really, thanks, though, that's really nice to ask, and it's okay. And then I read the message about 3 weeks later, and it said, oh, global marketing manager. And I was like, oh no.
Rewind.
Then, yeah, so... Wow. And I thought, when I got back to them again and said, well, actually, I think I will just stay with what I'm doing, because it's good to kind of build what you already have and not just kind of swap around too much, and try and build your current relationships. So, but then I thought, actually, what Specialized were kind of offering was just, it was absolutely great. They're like pushing the women's brand so much, and I think they've got about, at the time they had about 30 people working on just the women's side, which was amazing. Just having a big push with all the women's products and trying to grow that side of the company. So, and they were just they just sounded like really proactive and keen to kind of have me. So it just sounded like too good an opportunity to miss, really. So I thought, actually, I'd be crazy not to. And so I thought, actually, okay, let's do this and see where it takes us. And it's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Have you been with them for a few years now, right?
Well, this is a third year.
Okay, third year in.
So it was this is the third year in. Right. Yeah. So it was initially, I think, I'm not sure if it was necessarily an experiment, but they hadn't really had a kind of a women's. I suppose they have Matt Hunter, and I think the idea was to be kind of a female Matt Hunter, like not necessarily focusing or not racing, and just ambassador type thing. I think
that whole thing is so new as well to people, having an ambassador out there that's just generically doing a bit of everything and just a good face for the brand.
Totally.
It seems quite new. Obviously, the whole social media side of it's probably evolved quite a lot over the last sort of 3 years or so as well.
Definitely. And Specialized are such a race-based brand, like historically they're so, and still they're all about winning and 100% performance. And so I think for them it was probably a bit of a gamble, or let's see how it goes. We'll do it for a year and see how things go. But then it was just, I think it all worked out really well, and everyone's happy, all got on really well. So
that's cool.
We just so here we are, year 3. So it's great.
Year 3.
Yeah, it's really, really, it's brilliant, and couldn't be better.
Cool. And what would you say your role actually is? I know that's quite an open-ended question, but is your role to provide content all the time, or?
I'm not really sure.
That's a good thing, though, I think. Just do your thing.
I don't really know. I kind of keep doing my thing, and then unless anyone kind of points me in a certain direction, I just say, anything I should be doing, or anything you'd like me to do, just let me know. Or I just kind of keep doing my thing until, unless anyone asks me to do anything differently.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of up for anything, whether it's races, or an enduro, or like a 5-day cross-country race, or going videos or anything, just anything. I'm just kind of just up for it, so I don't mind. I don't really mind what it is, as long as it's just riding and with good people, and
that's cool.
I'm happy.
No, that's rad. That's rad. What's your favourite aspect of it then, of sort of being a brand ambassador? Is it the racing, the filming, or just the trips?
I'd say absolutely everything, because I think if it was just one or the other, it wouldn't be quite as exciting, because you kind of wouldn't say get numb to it, but it kind of keeps things really fresh and kind of good if you're able to do a bit of everything. Kind of
it's kind of cool that you're not too tied down by the sounds of it with your job or anything either. So if they sort of say you want to go on a trip for a month, you can be like, yep, cool, let's go.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Oh, well, the nursing, it's all just as and when. It's just, there's a nurse bank, and they just text me and say, can you work like Thursday and Saturday? And I'll say, oh, I can do Saturday, but I can't do Thursday, or you just can do whatever you can, really. So
I think a lot of people will be quite envious of that job.
It's a really good one. I think, it's really bad weather for a few days, I'll get a couple of shifts in. And then go away for a month or whatever. So it's actually, it's perfect. Mm-hmm.
Right, Ollie, found the button. Welcome to the Hook It podcast.
Thank you for having me.
you're more than welcome.
Is it a giant red button? I imagine it's a giant red button.
Yeah, it's huge. You should see it. I've got a whole room dedicated to the thing in my house. I just go in there and slam it, and things start going crazy. There's all wheels turning and mirrors flashing and everything. It's nuts.
Incredible.
It's a big setup, mate. It's huge. The whole started off with one laptop. Now there's still one laptop, and it's exactly the same.
Dude, you're blowing up. One laptop just sat on wads of cash. The desk is gone. It's just wads of cash now, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like that. Yeah.
You know me all too well, dude, already. Oh, dear. So, usually like to kick things off by asking you to do yourself like a brief introduction as to who you are and what you do. Just saves me doing a really bad one.
Okay. I'm Ollie Wilkins. I'm 31 years old now, and I'm a mountain bike rider.
There you go.
And that's pretty much it. I don't know if I've got much else to say about myself. This is going to be a long hour, isn't it? I was not a cool kid, and I only became cool through being good at stuff.
Right.
So I first, I think that's how it works. Anyway, I didn't have any mates or anything, and then I became good at basketball. So I was like,
right?
Well, yeah, being good at stuff gets you friends
and chicks, obviously.
Oh, loads. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. And so then I became good at basketball, and that became like, I think because I wasn't confident before, I was like when I got a bit of confidence, I was like, whoa, this is the key, being good at stuff. I've got to be good at stuff. So I got all obsessive over basketball, like crazy obsessive.
What sort of age are we talking about here?
Pretty young.
Okay.
So I started riding, I guess, when I was 11. So this is pre-11. I played for a really long time, really crazy obsessed, like bit OCD about numbers. Like I'd know each player's height and what university they went to. Really creepy stuff. I was like, I've still got loads of pointless information like that in my head. I can't seem to get rid of it. I forget everyone's names, but I don't forget basketball players' heights. So I did that for years, and I played at a pretty high level, I guess. And my parents were always really nice to me about all the things I chose to do. And then we moved to the countryside, and I hung out with some new friends and started riding. And that was it, really.
Right.
But also been into bikes. Like my dad rode motorbikes and stuff, and I remember seeing him wheelie down the road when I was younger, and I was like, oh, fuck, this guy's... He's already cool, but now... Whoa. I didn't know you could even ride a motorbike, Dad. You just did a wheelie. What? But,
you got to start somewhere.
So basically, me and my good friend Rue, he was a photographer, and he used to take all these photos, and he had this website called Flowtography, and it was just a bit fun. Like we'd have, like after each session on the weekend, we'd upload photos, and we'd be like, oh, who got the best table, who got the best flip or whatever, who got the best shot. And then he kind of realised that he could do this, and we had a few contacts through magazines that had done features on me. So we were like, right, well let's pitch it to a magazine. I write an article because I can write. I've got enough words in my vocabulary at this stage in my life.
You can scribble swear words out as well, can't you? And put something else.
Yeah, you can delete the swear words. And also at that time, I think it had that red wiggly line underneath it that helps you spell it proper.
A little paperclip that came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that probably just come out spell check. So we pitched it to MBUK through I can't remember who the contact was. It might have been actually the current editor of MBUK, Danny Walter.
Right.
We pitched it to him, this story. I believe it was called like Aggressive XE, because I was always still riding downhill and stuff, even if I wasn't taking pictures of it. I was riding, like I had an intense taser, I think, doing all this other stuff beyond dirt jumping. So we thought, well, I'll ride my dirt jump bike up the Surrey Hills, man. Yeah, we'll do an article on it. It'll be like a dirt jumper riding. And it was super dumb stuff, but we got a first article, and I had my first taste of like money from mountain biking, as in being paid by a magazine for my words, and then being paid by my bike company for my photo bonus. And I was like, whoa, this opens up a whole... Because I think I'm fairly creative in my thinking. I just constantly thinking of ways to do it then. I was thinking of ways, how else can I get in this magazine? One of the cool other things, also because I'm a super fan, like I wanted to think of something that I would want to read as well, as much. So
yeah, that's right.
So then
really
I was trying yeah, it was all based around photo bonus back then. So then instead of doing contests, my way of being sponsored was to get magazine coverage. So that's what I focused on. And obviously I wanted to be in dirt so bad.
Oh, man,
so bad.
I can imagine.
Oh, I've been in it a couple of times in adverts, but I wanted them to feature me, you know. I wanted to be in the cool.
Okay.
So we cracked on with that, and I sort of started working with photographers and video guys more. So that's kind of where it started. I guess I've actually always been like a schmedia rider. I guess I was only competitive for a little while early on.
Nah, it's cool. It sounds really good though. How you've got to where you are right now, you can pretty much just see it all just playing out. It's rad. It's really cool.
Right, yeah, I still do. So even as a rider, like again, it's probably all partly to do with me not wanting to do contests and still wanting to. Obviously, I was riding at a really high level, but I just didn't want to do those shit contests. So I was always thinking of ways that I can offer more. So I started to kind of give much more in-depth product feedback, and I've got enough of a brain that I can put a product on my bike and understand what's going on and what needs to change. And I've had that since I was 16. You know, I've been having to feed back to companies on every single thing that I put on my bike.
Yeah.
So I started being a bit more proactive with my kind of product feedback, and then that turned into, when I left university, I was like, I could get a really normal job here. This is a turning point in my life, probably. This is a pivotal point, because I was like, I could get a really normal job, but I'm likely to ride less, or I get a job I could try and do some work for DMR, and then I'll have way more chance of riding my bike, and you know, literally every single person around me rides. I've got a lot of friends that are full-time riders. It's where I want to be, really. I still want to be riding my bike every single day.
And so back then, DMR, like what sort of scale was DMR at? Was it a bunch of employees? Was it quite small? Or
DMR is also upgrade bikes. So they bring in a lot of other brands as well. So the actual DMR side of things is probably quite small because it's an own brand. So the people the stuff that comes out of DMR is shared between actually really quite a few people for a brand of its size.
Right. It's always good to know, isn't it? Like I didn't know at what scale it was or anything.
Yeah, I mean DMR's, they sell a lot of pedals. Pedals are the main thing for DMR. I mean, I'm sure every single bike brand out there has like a thing, a golden goose, or bread and butter, whatever you want to say. They have like a thing that sells. Yeah. And that's pedals for DMR.
Okay. Yeah. If you've not had a pair of V8s, there's probably something wrong with you.
Well, exactly. That's it. Black V8s. They're the ones.
Black V8s. If you've not had V8s, probably got no legs or something.
You probably, exactly. Probably. Can you edit these things?
Nah.
Makes sense. Yeah. So I went in and helped them develop. Actually, I had a signature fork. That's funny to talk about. I had a signature fork.
Yeah, the OW.
What? You haven't
right?
heard of it? What? Haven't heard of it? What?
Yeah, it's the OW.
Yeah, I had a
signature.
Yeah, the OW fork. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
which is a rigid.
It's a rigid, yeah, but it's a rigid fork that came out at almost exactly the wrong time.
Right. Okay.
Maybe I just tell myself that, but it was like a rigid fork exactly when everyone started riding suspension. And funnily enough, the exact same year I started getting sponsored to ride suspension. So it didn't do too well. Well, believe it or not, they've still got stock. So get your orders in now. It'll be collectible one day when I don't know what. When I have a heroin overdose and become famous.
Yeah, after this podcast, I think, mate, this is the
exactly.
This is the icing on the cake.
Like a realization of my life. Oh, big sigh.
Dear.
Yeah, so I had the old signature fork. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've worked on a load of other. I've worked on products since. It's wicked fun, and I obviously have graphic design capabilities.
So would you say that's your day job? Do you go in every day? Do you work from home? How does it work?
No, I'd say my day job now has changed now since the thing with DMR was it was very much mixed. So I was right for whatever day I was out shooting a video, testing, that was all part of my job as well, you know. So, but it wasn't budgeted. It wasn't like allocated. So it wasn't like, Ollie, you'll be doing 2 days a week riding, and then the rest you'll be working. Whereas now it is. So I'm a full-time mountain bike rider, and then I help DMR with product development.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'm not that famous. So I'm Loic Bruni. I'm from France. I come from France, and I'm a downhill mountain bike rider. And I've been world champion 2 years ago. Uh-huh. And I ride for Specialized Gravity team.
The mental coach. So what does that involve? Has it just literally been able to focus better? Is it sort of meditation stuff or anything like that?
Yeah. No, not really. It's it's more like a psychologist guy, actually.
Okay.
You just go and talk with him, and you tell him stuff you don't really tell anyone because you don't think it's useful to say, or you're a little bit ashamed to say to him, to tell him, and the guy just listens to you and make you realize, by making you talking, you realize so many things by yourself. He doesn't even ask you questions, you just realize by talking. And then it makes you just find the positive in everything, and being able to, from being super low, to build yourself back to the comfort zone and where you should be performing, you know. And it's super interesting. And when I saw the benefits of I was so steady in 2015 that I couldn't believe it. So I just kept working on that side. And physically it's super important because you need to be there, and you be strong to hold the pace all the way down. The bike has to be super well set it up too, but if, you know, at the end of the day, we're all super fast. I feel like there's not a big difference between me and Brannigan or Brooke. You know, everyone is pretty much fast at the same speed. But mentally, if you have on the day like the best capacities and the best mental form, you just kill it. You know.
Yes, that's super.
So I don't want to tell too many. Yeah, I don't want to tell too many of my secrets, but it's good.
One thing I wanted to ask you as well is obviously you've been riding joystick for a year or so now. You rode last year. You rode more of the joystick 8-bit bar, which is the alloy bar, not the carbon bar. Is there any reason for that? Is it just your personal preference? Because it was really good for us here in the UK. Like the £69.99 bar was. On podiums and stuff, it was sick.
I've never really put a carbon bar on my bike, just because it's not that I don't trust carbon, but on the handlebar I'm pretty scared of snapping the bar, and it will happen less easily to me with an alloy bar. And even if you show me test or like safety test or anything, I'll keep my own opinion.
Yeah.
And I actually really I'm sensitive of the feeling of the carbon on your handlebar, because it feels the demo is really stiff, and actually like the frame reacts pretty roughly to like holes and stuff. So it's super, like it's a race bike, like proper race bike.
Yeah.
And when you if you add carbon wheels and carbon bar, it's like a bamboo stick, and you can't really find any comfort out of it. So the alloy brings a little bit of softness to it, and I really enjoy it. And I've been always racing with gray bars, handlebars, and they can't make carbon gray bars. I just another reason to ride the alloy one. And Joystick has been good with us, and actually we're supposed to get some new bars now, and it's going well with them. It's a small brand. I didn't know them before we actually got sponsored by them, and it's really good. It's really good.
I mean, we got on board as well with Joystick really early. Obviously, you probably know Chris and Ollie, one of the owners of Hook It, was out in Whistler and just kept seeing this brand Joystick around at the bike park and stuff. So we reached out, and then the next thing you know, we're the distributor, and it's been going really good here in the UK. It's grown like a lot. So it's going really, really well. But I was really curious all year. I'm like, why is he riding a pair of like £69 bars. But that's really cool.
I know, but Finn is riding the carbon, I think, so it really depends on what you want, and I just like alloy. Greg can be good, and especially if everyone brings out a 29er shit bike, he'll be even faster on it. So
you don't like 29ers, no?
No. I don't know. I never tried a downhill bike in 29, but it's just like the whole industry bubble about 29er. It's a little bit downhill is not supposed to follow all the industry rules, but
I agree with you. I don't know. 100%.
It's a little bit fucked up. We only had like 2 or 3 years on the 27, and we already talk about 29. So I don't know what it will be in 15 years. So it's a little bit not going the direction I want. But I think Loris coming back to the races will be fast. I think Loris will have a lot to prove because of his change and stuff, but he will be super motivated and stuff, so it'll be fast for sure. Troy on his Canyon will be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, of course, yeah, he's switched,
Yeah, and some other guys, like I'm staying with Elliot in the house, and Elliot has a really good support this year with Giants, so hopefully he'll be able to compete in top 10 and where he wants to be, so it would be really interesting. I know Blanky has a new bike too, so it's not, the cards are not given yet, they're not.
No, not at all. I like that. It's good. Everyone's coming in healthy. It's going to be hopefully a good start for the year.
I feel like our bike's working good, so we are ready to battle, and our fitness, I'm all good, and it should be a good season again. I just have my vision of downhill, and just doesn't go the same direction as that. So some people will love 29ers. I know Greg will love it because he's Greg. Listen, Greg, to this podcast. But you're small, you're old, and you will be helped with a 29er.
29er e-bike, downhill e-bike. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like you say, some people will take to it, but fuck, man, it's just. So
we'll see, but just the better will have to win, and that's it,
That's it, exactly.
I don't want to talk too much shit about 29er.
No.
People that loves it, like one time in my Facebook page, I posted a photo of the hot seat in Andorra of Danny, Greg, and I.
Yeah.
And we're like doing like a surprise face, like oh my god, and because someone was crashing, and I was actually saying, when someone says I love 29ers, like the face like. Oh. And so many people got mad at me, like, you should not be mad at 29ers. You don't understand. Open yourself. Blah blah. I was like, whoa, guys, relax, okay?
I love how passionate you are about it. It's hilarious, dude. It's so cool.
I don't want to make enemies, but fuck hell.
You gotta stay true to what you want the sport to look like at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling what I think. So if you're not happy with it, just tell me some good arguments and we can have a talk.
Yeah. What's the worst thing you've done to Finn when he's pissed you off? I couldn't not ask you that one, dude.
He knows exactly what it is, and he was there actually when that happened. It was in New Zealand 2 years ago.
Right.
And Finn was just being a retard, like taking my pillow and rubbing it against his pubis,
Yeah.
So, and I was taking a shit. I was like, okay, Finn, if you don't pull that pillow, I'm gonna come and rub my ass on your face. And it didn't stop. So I don't tell you what came after, but he was not happy.
Amazing.
He was not happy about it, but he deserved it.
Is he a good teammate though? Because he seems like a pretty cool kid.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. He's really competitive and stuff, so it's good to have him as a teammate. And he's a cool kid, yeah. So
okay,
I love him. Love you, bro.
We need to get him on this thing. All right.
Yeah, first podcast. Let's see. I can at least now find out what a podcast is. I know I just read some 17 questions from Steve Pete, and he's like, "What the hell's a podcast?" And I'm like, "Cool. I got to find out what a podcast is before Steve Pete. This is pretty cool."
Oh, that's a bit of a dig too. I've been trying to get Steve to do this for ages.
Well,
man, but
busy boy.
I know. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
You
we'll make him
know.
jealous.
Yeah.
Get all his teammates and his team in there before him, and then he'll be calling you, begging to get on, right?
He'll be obliged, right?
Well, he'll then know what a podcast is, and once he figures out how cool it is, then he'll say, "Oh yeah, okay, I want in."
Yeah, let's hope it goes down that way. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Okay, well, my name's Kathy Sessler, and I currently manage the Santa Cruz Syndicate, and I've been doing this team for 14 years. So probably before some of the people will hear this were born. My career and interest in the sport and bikes in general goes way, way back. And you asked for a quick description, so I'll try and be brief. But for anybody who knows me, they'll know that that's kind of impossible. But when I was 13 years old, I saw the movie On Any Sunday.
Wow.
And I rode motorbikes at the time, dirt bikes and stuff. And I wanted to race the Elsinore Grand Prix, which I eventually did. But I was also inspired to grab my dad's 8mm movie camera and take movies of the little, it wasn't even called BMX then, but you saw the kids on the bikes in the movie. Yeah. And so I went home and I thought, oh, that looks so cool. And so I built a dirt track on 2 vacant lots and promoted little races. And I happened to capture it on my dad's camera, and it's some of the earliest pre-BMX footage that exists. And you can actually see that Dirt Magazine put it up on YouTube. And if you put in a lesson in history with Kathy Sessler, you can find that. And it's really cool. So that goes way, way, way back. Yeah. And so then I always wanted to race motocross. I did race the Elsinore Grand Prix, actually, when I was 14. And but that career never took off. So by the time I finally got on a mountain bike, I was like 32 years old or something. And I came back from that ride and I looked at my husband and I just said, that was the funnest thing I've ever done. I'm going to race mountain bikes now.
No way.
And so so then I did, my first race was in 1989. And then I had a professional racing career from 92 to 97. And I was known as One Fast Mother because that was something that set me apart from the others, is I had kids. And,
wow.
I was never going to be as fast as Missy Gio because I couldn't train like her anyway. And anyway, that was kind of my excuse. But had a lot of fun, loads of fun doing that, as they say, back in the day. And then I was also the first professional rider to ride Intense. And I live in Murrieta, which is next to Temecula, where the Intense factory is. And so Jeff Stieber and I have been friends for many years. And so after the racing, I'll tie that in a minute. I did, I told you.
No, it's all good. No one wants to hear me talk.
I did stunt work for a TV show called Pacific Blue. I did over 40 episodes on those Trek Y bikes, chasing bad guys, jumping on them, tackling them, all these kinds of things. And then at the same time was doing some team management for Intense. And so a former teammate of mine, Darren Stockton, did Intense Tire Systems, was developing some tires for them, and wanted to put together a race team. And Intense, they were poor at the time, and so the Intense Tire System team got Santa Cruz to be the frame sponsor. And that's when and Jeff asked me if I'd do the team management. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Just give me a bike and I'll do that. So that started the transition from racing, the stunt work, into the team management. That's how that started. And then it transitioned to, I've been doing it ever since then. And the inception of Santa Cruz Syndicate was in 2004. And so I've been doing this team for that long. And this year we have a lot of new changes, which are very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get onto those. Definitely. Wow, you just hit me with so much information. It's insane. And our mutual friend Joe just knocked it out of the ballpark with that team edit. It was...
Oh my God, let me tell you. So I was going to say, like, December is usually a month where I get some free time. But we had 2 weeks of training camp with the new riders, getting them together, and doing the team launch video. And, Joe came up with the concept for Full Metal Jacket kind of theme. In Val di Sole, we were talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, oh man, that's such a great idea. So as it got closer, Joe and we Skyped a bit, and he wrote the whole script, and Will Ockleton tweaked it and threw in some good stuff. And then I'm like, okay, Joe, you're in the UK. Like, how can I help? Like, let me help with the props. Let me get the wardrobe and everything. And so I did all the costumes and stuff. Oh my God, I would be texting Joe, like I'd be at the Goodwill or thrift store, and I'd find something funny, and I'd be sending him pictures. He's like, yes, yeah, oh my God. And then the day that Joe, oh my God, when Joe sent me the picture, okay, he had sent me this like photo, kind of what he wanted Greg to look like, right?
Right.
And so he wanted to had like a sweatband and mustache and aviators and stuff. But then the day comes where Joe says, how about this hat for Greg? And it was like Make America Great Again, the Donald Trump red hat thing, right? And I just cracked up. I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. And so then I can't remember I think it was Will Ockleton. He's like, let's make Syndicate great again. I'm like, oh, even funnier. and so then since I'm doing all the props and stuff, so I ordered a hat, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to get this to say Syndicate on here, So I have a background of doing sewing and stuff like that. So I picked some of the letters out. I left in America the parts of the letters were still in Syndicate, and then I took my sewing machine and put in the rest of the letters. So I just hand did that.
That's a good effort.
It was just a one-off, like, okay, just trying to whatever. It was just, oh my God. Then I ordered that mustache online, and the label on it says like, made of human hair from Bangladesh. Greg's doing those scenes. It was like coming apart. He's getting the hair in his mouth, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're getting hair from a Bangladesh guy in your mouth. That's gross." and then I was like, thinking like Steve was gonna like suck in his acting, and he just nailed it. He did such a great job.
The whole thing was legit. It was so good. I remember just before Joe maybe flew out there, I saw him. I think we went out for a meal, and he was stressing. He's like, I don't know what people are going to think. It could be amazing. It could be terrible. And like the whole media just blew up. It was so cool. And I had Luca Shaw on this podcast actually almost.
That's right.
The night after or something like that. And man, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, the internet's blowing up. What the hell? Like added pressure on me to make this thing quite good. But yeah. Wow. Yeah, he knocked it out of the ballpark. Just going to rewind a little bit. I'm really keen to know what exactly your job role is, and kind of what a World Cup weekend looks like for Kathy Sessler, as far as what your roles are and what kind of goes into what you do.
Yeah, so team manager, there would not be one description to describe every team manager, because everybody brings their own skill set into that role. Yeah. So my role, so we've got Ross Kopp and Will Ockleton are doing like the sponsorship and organizing, doing all those big logistics for us. Mm-hmm. I've got amazing mechanics. Doug Hatfield is the brains behind all the ordering and getting everything, all that. Mm-hmm. Then we've got Marshy and PA, Loris's mechanic. He's French. He's cool. Okay. And they're managing all that, right? So then my side of it is working out all the travel logistics, the hotels, this types of things. Mm-hmm. When we get on site, then my race week looks like, make sure when we land, I do what's called a master itinerary, but he always laughs at me about it. But, when you need to know,
you got to be organized.
Then you can look at it. You don't ever need to look at it until you need to know something that's on it, like your hotel or this or that. But helps me to know that I haven't forgotten anything and whatever. So basically we land, and, we're getting the rental cars and getting everything to the venue. And then one of my first tasks is to get to the grocery store, because I do all the cooking for the team as well.
Awesome.
And so basically my role at the races is I just want to take everything off the rider's plate as possible. And I want to be a foundation for them to build off of. So I'm not there to make them a fine human being. Their mother should teach them how to make their bed and take out the trash. Okay, that's not my job. My job there is to basically look after them and have them focus all their energy and attention on their task, which is to hurl their body down a mountain as fast as they can. They don't need to wash their freaking clothes or worry about where their food's coming from or who's filling their water bottle, any of these things. I'm there to just take all that out of the equation for them.
Okay.
So basically, I'm just looking after them. We'll typically also have a physio there. We have Lawrence Van Lingen, who's an amazing, gifted chiropractor from South Africa who does maybe half the races. And then we've got Laura Robson, who's worked with Athertons, and she worked with us last year. She'll handle like the massage and the physio aspect of it. Okay. If one of those aren't there, I can give the guys a massage if they need just like, got some tight muscles or relaxing or whatever, but I don't know anything therapeutic. But basically, I'd say the food service itself is really huge. I probably spend probably at least 4 to 5 hours a day doing that because You've got to do the breakfast and then you've got to shop for the lunch and get the lunch and then shop and then do the dinner. So it takes me half hour to make breakfast and then it does like a half hour for lunch and an hour for the dinner. And then, cleaning up. My day usually starts at 5:30 or 6 and I'm usually finished at 11 or 12 at night.
Jesus.
So, yeah. And there's things like, if Greg's World Champs race jersey, they sent him the stock one, is gigantic and I've got to sew it in and this and that and anything
and everything.
I'm their mom,
I didn't want to say it.
yeah. Or I say I'm the best wife you'll never have because I don't even do this for my husband, but they pay me to do this. There's a difference. Yeah. Right?
Does your husband get neglected when you get home? You're just like, nah, I've been cooking and cleaning.
I'm so burned out. Forget about it. But basically, I just want to look after them, after their well-being. I like to try and, work with them. There's emotions that are involved and sometimes they're struggling and sometimes they're not. So you've got to be like understanding and sensing and perceiving how they're doing and then managing the aspects of what the race is demanding and fans and sponsors and this and that and trying to keep them kind of contained. But basically, by doing all those things for them, I want to give them the free time so that then, they can come to dinner in their underwear and then just go chill out on their computer after or whatever. But don't bring your phone or any technology to the dinner table. If I cook you dinner, you're going to pay attention, talk to people at the table.
You're going to eat it mindfully.
That's one of my rules. I only have a couple. But it's really funny. These new guys, they do what I ask them to do. It's unbelievable.
Oh, awesome.
Anyway, that's kind of how it kind of goes.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds really cool. I mean, it sounds so varied and just different and, many different tasks and stuff. I want to know your best Josh and Steve story, and if there is one which really stands out, which you like to share.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there's a recent one. Okay, I won't say it's the best because I could probably go on all day trying to think about it, but here's
there's probably a million.
Here's one that just happened. So we went to we were going to Roc du Jour. We did finale enduro, and then we met up in Nice. Josh flew in, and for some reason, I'd sent Steve a text, I'll be there at 6:00, but he had forgotten there was a time change. So he thought he had an hour. So of course he got some beverages and he and Josh were having some beverages. And then actually me and Greg were just right there. Oh, I thought we had time for this, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, we're hungry. And then so we went to the little cafe in the airport there and Steve ordered this hot pie and they put it in the microwave, and it was really hot.
Right.
And there's always a gag they play on. It's like, oh, how's your food smell? And they'll smash your face in it. Well, anyway, Steve's about to take a bite of his pie, and Josh smashes it into Steve's face. And it burnt him, literally burnt him. And, And, Steve was so mad. And he just, he kicked Josh so hard. He kicked him and Josh's glasses flew off his face and Steve kicked his glasses across the floor to the wall and people are standing around just going, oh my oh my God, that's not nice.
Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah. Like, this is like, it's like brothers, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the one that comes quickly to mind.
Brilliant. Love it.
I'm sure I can think of a million others.
He's got a burnt nose right now, has he? Not seen Steve for a little while.
It's time.
All right, man, I pressed the button. We're let's not make it any more formal than it just was, if that makes sense.
No, it's fine. Stoked to be here.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate you doing this. It's really good of you. So, I guess officially, welcome to the Hook It podcast, episode 26. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I think actually it's pretty funny. I still remember when you dropped me the message on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're introducing yourself, and I was like, dude, I'm listening to your podcast all the time. And actually, I wrote a little column about your podcast for the magazine. So, it was funny. And now I'm here. And as I told you, I'm a bit nervous. It's a positive nervosity. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's good.
It's good.
I'm a bit tired, and it gives me the adrenaline to stay awake and answer your questions and have a cool chat with you.
Well, as you know, I'm having a little glass of wine to try and keep awake. So after a pretty rough weekend of basically just, I'll be honest, just shitting my pants almost for 2 days. I've not eaten anything pretty much since Friday about lunchtime.
Oh my God.
So this glass of wine, it could be bad. It could be a real big issue. It could be
straight.
Yeah, go straight to my head. I'd just be slurring my words anytime soon.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's a good vibe.
Yeah.
I'm on the water. I think a lot of people will be surprised. Mayhem Media will be pretty sad about me that I'm drinking water here. But as I told you, if I drink beer, we had to have a lot of breaks because I have to go to the toilet.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But about diary, when you have stomach problems, it's actually a little fear at the World Cups.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I'm doing it now for 6 years or something, and I never had to take toilet paper with me.
Not yet.
Fingers crossed. You'd be pretty fucked if it happens. And you're missing your riders because you're sitting in the bushes and you hear people screaming, "Yeah, Greg, yeah, Gwyn," and you're sitting in the bushes and missing them. So, but fingers crossed, I will never be in this situation.
No, I can imagine a lot of people come down off the hill with no socks and maybe no underwear.
I think we have to ask Duncan. I'm not sure. I think he used one time his sleeve from a shirt or something, or his socks. I'm not sure if he told me now in Lure that he used his old bib he had in the bib from the year before. He had
nice.
I hope the UCI is not mislistening because they're missing some bibs.
The shit bib.
Right. So and there are funny videos. I can send you a link later.
Send them over.
Started riding bikes, and I started building the first little trails.
Right.
I did the first. My buddy had a little. It's also in our scene. Everybody knows about it. My buddy had a big, not a big crash. It's on video. We put a video together, and he put it in. Okay. So it was a little kicker in front of the left hand before left hand berm. I did it first. Went over the bars. Did a little front flip in the bushes. He haven't done the front flip. He was just sitting on his ass, jumping in the bushes, and he came out and he had a 6 in diameter, 6 centimeter, old wooden stick in his ass. So it was. You can see it in this video. It's the space between your butthole and your dick. The
gooch.
The gooch. It went in there, and he came out, and he held it like, "Boris, I think it's stuck in me. Can you feel it?" And I touched it, and it was stuck. You couldn't even move it.
Holy shit!
And we had to call the ambulance, and you can't pull it out, otherwise, you can die. So he went to the ambulance car, was waiting at outside the trails on the road, and he was like, "Oh, do you think I can go back home?" I said, "I think it will take a bit longer." So we went to the hospital, and they had to. Now it's getting worse. Actually, they had to call the firefighters because the stick was too long to put him in the MRT. Is it MRT?
I don't know. In the bed or
not X-ray. The other thing is this tube where you have to.
Oh man. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
you know what I mean.
So I know what you mean. Sorry, mind blank.
It was too long, so they had to call the firefighters to come to the hospital with the hydraulic scissor because they couldn't use a saw or something. And then And the next thing was the doctors asked if they can take pictures of it for the books, for the learning books, because they've never seen something like this before. And he was super, super lucky. It was 6 centimeters diameter.
Yeah.
And they have expected the worst. You know, there's so much stuff going on down there. But it was like an old stick. You know, it was green. You know, it was past everything.
Really?
So he just had a massive hole.
2 assholes.
Yes. And he had to sit. So, Björn, I'm sure you will listen to it. Sorry that I have to tell the story.
Oh, it's amazing.
So he was just sitting for 3 weeks on a, like a
rubber ring or something.
Yeah, a rubber ring, exactly.
So after seeing your mate get designated a new asshole, you were hooked on the sport.
I was hooked the whole time. He stopped riding afterwards. I don't know why, but so yeah.
All right, dude. Button's been pressed. We're rocking and rolling. It's always weird because like we just chatted and then I pressed that thing and it's like start again. But yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate you doing this. For anyone who is listening, it's Friday night. Obviously, Ed's stoked to be doing this on a Friday night as a pro mountain biker, not out partying.
Especially on the eve of the biggest race of the season, the Steel City Downhill.
People are coming from miles around.
Yeah, we've come from the other side of the world for it. So
you did it a few years ago too, didn't you?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Sick. I've basically wanted to come back for like the last few years. Unfortunately, don't have my Barnsley Rugby Football Union kit this year, but yeah,
man, it's crazy though how much it's grown. Like it's absolutely insane. I remember like the first year and it been like pretty busy and stuff, and everyone got an entry, and now it's like fucking hell, everyone's just fighting for entries and stuff. It's wild.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to Rupert how like 3,000 people come and watch one of the flattest minute-long downhill races, and that there's like a whip-off on a 2-meter double.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to see it to believe it.
Definitely. It's a cool race. I'm pretty excited for it. I'll be heading over tomorrow. At some point. I don't know when, but I usually race it, if I'm honest with you. But again, being totally honest, I've got smoked the last few years. So I'm just not going to bother.
Well, when I did it, I thought I'd put down a pretty good run, and I ended up second, and Petey put like 4 seconds into me.
Really?
And I was like, where do you find the time on that track? He must have a blueprint of every rock on the course, because
I think he knows that thing. But Craig, who you're staying with, obviously, Craig Evans, pretty well. I think he beat Steve in the first run last year.
Yeah.
And then I was up on the start gate. Steve came up and like game face was on, dude. It was like, yeah, take no mercy. Gotta win this thing.
I think Loose Dog was saying that when Craig beat Petey on the first run, he went and swapped bikes for the second. So yeah, he must have been taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah. He's trained all year for this.
Yeah.
All right, man. So
okay, should I just take it away?
Take it away, buddy. Take it away.
Okay, sweet. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Eddie Masters. I'm a New Zealand native, 27 years young. I'm a unemployed rally driver, currently employed downhill mountain biker, and semi-employed enduro racer. In my spare time, I like to ride fat bikes, take the piss out of everything in the sport, and that's about what I get up to.
Yeah, pretty much spot on, I think.
That's me to a T.
Amazing.
Nice to meet everyone who's listening.
Yeah, hopefully there's a couple of people. There'll be 1 or 2.
Yes.
Some people might have turned off by now, let's be honest.
Yeah, we have. It's just going to be 20 minutes of dribble, no doubt. Off season was pretty fun. We managed to get kicked out of our flat, which was one thing.
Yeah, go on, man. The story needs to come out, man. There's like, I don't know if you saw the listener questions, but it was like one of the top ones was tell the story about the I didn't know it was a flat, but yeah. So
it was So like we had a share house, which was like basically a dilapidated mansion with multi-million-dollar views over Queenstown.
Right. Who's in it then? Who are we talking? Who's the crew?
So it was just No one, people would really know, just like the solid crew that I always live with in Queenstown.
Right.
And we always end up inheriting a few Vanzacks that live on couches. So there was Dave McMillan and Dixon Davis both living in vans that they'd acquired.
Right.
Yeah, acquired, which was basically the vans had broken down somewhere and they'd managed to just tow them up the hill and were living in them. Yeah, so they were living on the lawn, and then there was a few other people camped out in the lounge and stuff. But the few years leading up, we've always thrown like an annual house party, and they've kind of escalated each year to a bigger and bigger thing.
Right.
So, and in true fashion, being pretty, welcoming guys, we thought we'd invite everyone. So, which entailed making it. Well, Queenstown's quite good because there's no aggro or anything. There's no fights or anything. It's pretty good natured. So yeah, we handed out 500 flyers around town, and made it public on Facebook and put out a few promo videos as well. And by about 9:30, 10 o'clock that night, there was 350 people in our backyard.
So good.
Yeah, no, it was sick, and it was like it kind of got a bit blown up in the media afterwards. But
why? Did it make like the news or anything like that? Or
yeah, it was like, I think it was maybe front page or page 2 in the like New Zealand Herald.
Holy shit!
Which then online kind of got shared around quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then Queenstown's quite a small place, so like, yeah, they were looking for a story, but they made it sound like it was like a little bit out of control, but it wasn't really. It was actually pretty tame. Everyone was just having a good time, and we kind of like had it outside, centered around our mini ramp. And
at the end of the day, there was 150 people who got a flyer who didn't turn up. That's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I know.
Where are those guys?
Well, I think by the time they got, because we were seriously enforcing the funnel on entry, so there was actually like a 100-meter line down our driveway.
Oh my god!
People trying to get in.
Do you remember that Aussie kid who did it? Oh man, what was his name?
Corey Worthington.
Corey, that's him. Corey Worthington. Yeah. I was living in Australia when that happened. It was so funny.
Yeah.
He was on the news and they're like, so what would you tell anyone who's considering doing one of these house parties? Who is like, get me to organise it for you. It's like,
you can, if anyone's listening, if you haven't seen the clip on YouTube, it's well worth a watch.
Genius.
Just Google Corey with,
Total
so
genius.
and then because there was articles written in the paper, our landlord or the letting agency wasn't very stoked because they were mentioned and stuff.
Who'd have thought?
So they wanted to kick us out, and yeah. They wanted to take our security deposit as well, which was like $3,500, and we didn't do any damage to the house at all. Okay. So we were like, nah, we'll see you in court. So I got to play lawyer for a day, and which was actually really fun.
You do represent yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So I studied up on the Tenancy Act and stuff, and the end outcome was that we did have to move out, but we kept our security deposit, so it was a bit of a stalemate, really.
Yeah. That sounds sweet though. So good.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, like someone was telling me, no one will remember the court or the papers articles, but everyone will remember the party. So yeah.
Just out of interest, what was the headline? Do you know?
I think it was "Party Over for Queenstown's Most Cooked," because we had a page where we'd like post up stupid videos of people, and it was called Queenstown's Most Cooked, and they hosted the party.
Amazing. Absolute genius, dude. Ben Deacon, welcome to the show, dude.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. Very much appreciated.
Thanks for your patience, man. That's been a nightmare.
That's all right.
So far, worst start ever. Literally 3 false starts. But anyway, we're here. We're ready to go. Thanks, everyone, as usual, for tuning in. Sorry this one's taken a little while to get to you. We had some problems with the original guest, but like I said in the intro, you're definitely not a replacement or a stand-in or a stunt double, dude. But the first one, I don't know what happened with that, but we're here. We're good to go.
So yeah, thank you.
Well, you mean to say the original guest wasn't that happy with like the payment of 2 pints? I'm well over that, mate. It's good.
Is that what it is good. Too? We're gonna have to cut it short then.
Apparently,
we'll have to leave it at 1.
Well, especially after looking at one of the listener questions earlier, I think 2's giving myself a bit of justice. Maybe 1 should do it, I think. But yeah,
those things are getting worse, man. The more and more of a following that this thing gets, like the gnarlier and gnarlier the listener questions get. But I kind of like it that way. I'm glad that most of them aren't serious. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's what.
The Ed Masters ones will always be the bar to beat. Like every single one of those was like censored. It was ridiculous.
That's brilliant.
But it's all good. So what we like to do to usually kick these things off is let you do yourself like a really brief introduction, just because I don't want to miss anything out. And then we'll just rock and roll from there.
Cool. All right, mate. Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ben the Deaconator Deacon in a sort of fun sort of way. I'm an ex-Royal Marine Commando, charity ambassador, I guess mountain bike racer and media sort of squid. And most importantly, I'm a thrill seeker that's trying to live the dream. So nothing serious. I know some people take things seriously. I guess I'm very much just a guy that just tries having fun as best I can, you know?
Looks like you're having a lot of fun, though.
Defo, dudes. Defo.
I can't fault you for that at all.
I mean, I think there's sometimes in life, and I don't want this to get too deep because there's nothing worse than getting too deep, but I think sometimes in life you need something to happen to make you go, do you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I think I hate the people that go, me. I'm not one of those people, but it seems this is the whole purpose of podcast. That's what I'm going to go on about it. It's just like one of those things where sometimes in life you need a kick up the arse. And I guess with the fact that I've had a career, I'm now just going, do you know what? Life's too short. I'm doing my career as you know, like late 20s, early 30s, you know, and that's what's happened. So.
I feel you, man. Just out of interest then, how old are you?
I'm 31 now.
31.
I'm an old man, mate.
Nah,
I'm an old man now.
It's only just getting started. It's only just getting going. I think, God, I think it's really easy for people to put too much what's it called? Too much thought and anticipation onto age. I hate that. And I hate that I found myself doing it from like 20 to 30. Do you know what I mean? Like you really think, when I get to 30, you need to have this, you need to have that, you need to be doing this stuff. But like as soon as I hit that age, I've kind of just gone the opposite way. You just like, you literally can't change it. It is what it is. And life is, like you just said, life is too short, man, not to be having fun every day, if possible.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So nice, deep way to start this.
Yeah. Nice deep. We've lost half the listeners already. They're like, what the fuck are we listening to? It should be
Deepinator.
Oh dear, we won't go there, mate, just in case.
Let's talk about your army days, because not everyone out there will maybe know about your army days.
Royal Marine Commandos, difference, mate, difference. But yeah, I know what you mean. Right, okay. So yeah, in short, it was after the whole school thing.
Yeah.
I went to college, covered like outdoor instructor courses, this, that, and the other, and I had a mate who was like a really good boxer, and he basically full time pretty much boxed for the Marines, and he's like, you know, I'm unsure of the crack, but if you're into mountain biking and you're at a fairly good level, I'm pretty sure you get all this time off to ride your bike. And, you know, before that as such, you know, as I said, I ride my bike at a good level. You know, I was winning regionals, but, you know, by far miles away from making a living from it. It was very much a case of, you know, I'm good enough to get maybe a free bike or certainly a discounted bike, but, you know, I'm never going to make money from it. And certainly, you know, I'm going off topic as always, but if you look at a lot of kids growing up now, I think quite a lot of the time they forget the reason why they ride. It's like, right, I want to get sponsored. It's like, I'm not being funny, mate. If you look at like the top, you know, and maybe I'm talking out of turn, but if you look at the top 50 World Cup riders, only a marginal amount of those guys are going to make a full-time living from it. You know, a lot of them are going to get expenses, but after your mountain bike days, what are you going to do? You know, you can only ride your bike for so long. And then it's like, well, great, mate. You've traveled the world for 5-10 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, then great. But after that, you know, no qualification. You know, I'm only saying this because I know a few guys that I'm going to live the dream and be a mountain biker. And, you know, I'd like to think I'm doing that as a dream now because I've done my career. So going back, as always, going off subject, going back to how it started, it was one of those where I was like, right, I don't want to work in an office. I want an outside job. And after chatting to one of my mates, he was like, mate, the Marines is for you, you know, like without sounding what's it, I was quite a gnarly bastard at school, like always trying to get in fights and all this sort of stuff. And I was just like, right, I want to prove something to myself. I want to do the hardest training, like basic military training in the world. And that's what the Marines is. I went into training. There was 114 guys that turned up on day one for just a 3-day test to get into the Marines. Out of that, literally, I think it was 86 passed that training. And then to get into the actual basic training, the 86 that I went into training with, only 11 of us passed. And honestly, It's the most gnarliest thing I've ever done. You know, there was a few days where I'm like, what the heck am I doing? You're just getting screamed at, shouted at. You're in minus 10 temperatures, you know, getting shouted at, getting people kicking you in the head. And also it was, you know, I can't even explain how gnarly the training is, but at the same time, like how rewarding it was at the same time. No, you know, the last test, the very last week of 32 weeks, you're doing a 9-mile speed march, which you're doing on day one with full kit, then doing a Tarzan assault course, which is basically 15 minutes of absolute hell. You're then doing a 6-mile endurance course, which is like through tunnels in Woodbury Common and Exeter. And then the very last thing, you know, bearing in mind you're absolutely screwed, you're sleep deprivated, all this sort of stuff, is a 30-miler across Dartmoor in 8 hours. And, you know, 30 miles, if you think of a London Marathon, you know, you're doing a London Marathon, 26.2 miles with trainers, shorts, all this stuff. You're doing that across Woodbury Common in Dartmoor with uneven ground, full kit, boots, rifle. And I'd say to anyone, if you think running's hard, you try running with all that weight and a rifle where you can't get a normal pace. Even just run with boots on, you notice how different it is to run. And yeah, you're doing that. But even though as hard as that is, that's the only thing you've got left to pass the test, you know, like you've done all that 32 weeks of absolute hell of being shouted at, going on exercise, and the only thing standing between you and a green beret is literally that 30-miler, and you just dig deep, you get it. And the maddest thing I've ever experienced in life is having our training team shouting and screaming at us every day, to then that following day after the 30-miler, like, all right, Deeks, mate, how are you? Do you want a beer? And you're like, it's the most insane thing where, you know, you're so used to respecting these guys. And don't get me wrong, you obviously still respect him, but you're like, wow, he's just called me mate. And it's as silly as it sounds, it's the maddest thing, because these are the guys that have been making you run through muds, you know, doing press-ups, holding stress positions for minutes. And then next thing you know, he's like, all right, mate, how are you? All right, Deeks, you know, do you want to go down the bar for a few? So, yeah,
so gnarly.
So, yeah, that was training.
It's inspiring though, man. Like, sorry to put in, but I think it's important every now and again. I mean, what you've done is the extreme side of pushing yourself, but it is important sometimes to put yourself through hell and just realise how, like, hard it is. And you always feel better after, whether it's that sense of achievement or just knowing that you've conquered something.
Definitely.
Again, on like a personal level, I've kind of got into CrossFit a little bit, and it feels sometimes like that. You know, you look at a workout and you're like, oh man, it's gonna be gnarly. Like I don't think I can get through it. And then that sense of achievement at the end of it, it's like anything in life. It's so rewarding. But fair play, dude. Like getting through that final 12.
Definitely.
Wow, I'm obsessed with that sort of stuff as well. I love. It's probably a little bit different, but like the SAS Who Dares program that was on Channel 4.
Yeah.
I never watched TV, man. Like I'm super against TV, but that was one of those shows, and that sort of thing that I get really into, just watching people and like trying bits of it myself as well. Like I go out for a run around here, make sure you go through some rivers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm well into that. But yeah, fair play, dude. That's super inspiring.
You know, and just like when I think back at training, you look back, like you're saying there, and you look back at what you went through, you think, wow, you know, I always remember like we ended up jumping in an ice river in the middle of December, and you know, I won't get into the ins and outs, but in short, you had to like de-ice your trousers before you put them on. Literally had to bang them so they're soft again. You know, it's absolutely crazy. But going from the training, obviously from there, I deployed in operations, and you know, unfortunately or fortunately for me, I went to Afghanistan and got shot with 4 of my mates. So 3 of us were on a rooftop giving cover and fire as the lads went in. And, all 3 of us got shot on the rooftop and jumping into cover ended up pushing one of my mates off the roof who had been shot through the leg. As I pushed him off, I jumped down after him. And because I'd been shot through the ankle, like as I jumped, my ankle literally had an open dislocation. So I was looking at the sole of my foot. I was like, oh my God, what on earth is happening here? And then the lads got the other guy off the roof. We only had 2 stretchers for the whole troop. So those 2 lads, because they had entry and exit. So basically, in short, I was in the middle. There was a rounds of fire going in, and so luckily for me, it went through a mate's leg first before it went in me. So I only had an entry wound rather than an exit wound. Now, obviously, it's the exit wound that causes more damage because it's sort of like a vacuum and takes a lot of it out. And so those 2 guys got on the stretcher, and we took it in turns to sort of run to the next building. Otherwise, we're massive sort of massive target running in open ground, When I got to the next building, one of the lads who was carrying the stretcher got shot in the arse, and it was like, wow, like what a shit day. So he was it's just carnage. And anyway, get back to end up making our way gradually, slowly to where the Chinook landed. And when the Chinook landed, which obviously for those of you that don't know is a big sort of dual helicopter, dual rotor helicopter. All these Americans were on the back. They're like, oh man, you Marines, you're fucking crazy, man. Because all of us are just off our tits on laughing gas. And I always remember, and it's just that thing where I wish I had a GoPro for the whole thing. That's how I've made my career mountain biking. I should have had it back there. And me and my mate are just looking at each other with the lad who's just been shot in the arse. And as funny as it sounds, like the blood was just pissing out everywhere. So it went straight through his artery. Like he's 5 minutes away from being dead. And me and my mate are like, fucking hell, Tricky, come on, mate, wake up, stop being a bellend. And we're just laughing our tits off and it's just such a surreal moment, We've got my mate nearly dying on the floor. We're off our tits on laughing gas while a load of American US Army lads are like, hey man, you Marines are crazy. And just like, wow, like what? Like you just can't even explain it, It's absolutely nuts. But anyway.
No, how long were you out there for? How long were you in Afghanistan?
That was two months.
Right.
So we got in our first contact within 3 days out there, and that's when I was like, I always remember our corporal at the time. He turned around and he goes, lads, this shit's just got real, like one of those films. And the first time, and it's easier said than done because I know like these lead bullets can obviously kill you. They're coming 600 mile an hour or whatever it is, but the fact of the matter is, when you go paintballing and you've got such a buzz, I always remember this. The first time bullets started coming over my head, I turned around to my mate and we were pissing ourselves. And I don't know why. I think whether or not it's training taking over or just fear or I don't know what, but you're just like, God, these bastards are trying to kill us. Let's give some back, It's just, and anyway. So that's how that relates to mountain biking is. Life's too fucking short. Yeah. Get off your ass. If you're not happy with your life, do something about it. And there's so many haters out there. If you hate what other people are doing, take a look at your own life. And if you're not happy with it, do something about it. That's my philosophy. After being in a war zone, that's what made me go, do you know what? I obviously spent more time in the Marines after that, but after that, I was like, do you know what? Life's too short. I wanted to be a professional mountain biker when I was young. It never happened. I wasn't good enough, but how that's changed is I've done my career. I was lucky enough that I invested money wisely and just sorted myself out so I could just go, do you know what? I'm going to have a few years of just having a bloody good time. And that's exactly, what I think I've done. And that's basically me in a nutshell.
Story though.
Yeah, I guess.
It must be, obviously I don't want to drag up any bad memories for you, but there must be times when you look back at that and think what could have been, you know what I mean? It's like...
Massively.
Oh, it's nuts.
So
I'm guessing there's times when you're out there too where you're just thinking, what am I doing here? Or are you quite, is the word patriotic, that you were just like, no, I'm out here for a certain reason?
Dare I say it, and I think, I don't want to speak out of turn because this, I don't want to get anyone in trouble or any of that, but at the end of the day, you are out there for your country, but most importantly, you're out there for the guys around you. Very much like the old saying, Band of Brothers. These guys, you've gone through you've gone to hell and back with these guys, and you'd do anything to sort of protect them like they would you. So it's just that thing where you'd do anything you could to sort of be there. And even coming back to hospital, when I came back to the UK, I was like, mate, you've just got to sort my ankle out. I'm going back out there. And I don't know whether or not it was madness or anything else, but I didn't realise how screwed my head was when I got back home. It was only when, I went around my hometown and someone threw a bin lid, or not even threw it, a bin lid landed on the floor. Before I knew it, I was on my belt buckle going, what on earth has just happened? And that's when my mates around me were like, man, I think you're a bit screwed in the head. And I suppose you've got to be, you're in a bloody war zone getting shot at. But yeah, that's basically sort of sorted a lot of things out in my life. I think from that, it's just made you realise that life, you never know what's around the corner. So if you're not happy, do something about it. And it's only seeing my mates come back in boxes that made me go, do you know what? Like, life is short. You never know what's there. And, that's why I do what I do now and try and live my dreams and, have fun while I do it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. We can start being robotic.
Okay. Yes.
Do you like bikes, Martin?
Yes, I love them.
All right, that's that. Okay, dude. I'm gonna guess this is probably your first podcast too.
It is.
Awesome.
It is,
awesome.
And I'm excited.
I was thinking about it before. It's like, with all like the media obligations I'm guessing you have and all the stuff you've done in your past, I was thinking, I wonder if this is like your first podcast. I'm like super honoured to have you on here as a guest, man. So
well, I appreciate being here, and yes, it's my first podcast, and I'm curious. I quite like being able to chat in a more relaxed way, because sometimes when you do like interviews or I'm not like a pro downhill racer where I'm getting like bothered by press all the time, but I mean, when I do get a chance to do that stuff, it can be a bit.
Repetitive maybe. Or...
Yeah. Well, you end up kind of saying the things that you've said to a similar question before, and you don't really think things through. And I'm a bit of I'm someone who likes to chat, which you'll probably discover.
Hopefully. Yeah. No, it's cool, man. Do you listen to podcasts though at all? Are you a podcast fan or?
You know what? I used to, when it was kind of. I don't know, like the Ricky... No, not when it was cool. Like, when it was sort of like new and the whole sort of Ricky Gervais phase and things like that. Yeah. I did a bit then, but since what I end up doing? I'm always listening to audio books.
Right.
So I think I've just got lost in the world of that over the last few years, to be honest.
It's similar though, isn't it? I mean, I'm a bit of an anomaly because I spend all my days driving pretty much. Like, I visit all of our dealers around the UK, so I'm in the van, 6-7 hours a day. So I'm a bit of an anomaly. I listen to so much podcast stuff.
Right.
Very rarely turn the radio on. And yeah, I just like listening to cool stories and stuff like that. Like, I just prefer to do that than listen to some music that I'm not even into.
Yeah, well, you know what? If I'm in because I do a lot of driving myself, and I used to be a bit of a Radio 4 listener, really boring. But there's some great stuff on Radio 4. And then I... recently, over the last few years, I've got really into silence. So I'll drive. I drove to Fort William the other day. So for me, it's about an 8-hour drive in utter silence.
Really?
The whole way.
That's cool.
I challenged myself to do it. It was amazing.
It is. I'll be honest, I do it every now and again, but I think one of the major things in that is you need a nice car, which you can hear the engine of, I think. Like, for me, my van's beat, so I can hear wheel bearings. There's a bit of noise from a camshaft.
I've never actually thought about listening to the car. Actually, no, I sort of kind of just focus in on the kind of silence and see where it takes me, kind of thing.
Maybe it's an excuse to buy like a Ferrari or something.
It's a really great excuse,
isn't it?
That could work.
Want to listen to the engine?
Yeah, I wish I could afford one.
Well.
Yeah, I've heard they're expensive. Good luck with that. Hey, dude, I've got a really funny Speedway story, actually. So a couple of years ago, I don't know if you know, but I've got like an adapted street triple Triumph with electronic legs that kind of go down like landing gear.
Okay.
And I was asked to go and ride that bike at Goodwood Festival of Speed. So, you do like a hill climb there.
That's right.
Where and loads of like famous or notable people ride up this hill, either on famous bikes or the riders are famous, and they wanted me to go onto the start line and ride up, so this disabled guy goes up the hill. And I was like, yeah, cool, no worries. And I'd already done it once on the Friday, and then on the Saturday it come to my run. And what happens is you all ride down the hill, all the people who are going to parade up, you ride down and then turn around and get on the start line, and then every 30 seconds they set someone off. And there was like a jet-powered bike, and there was Casey Stoner, and there was incredibly famous people, right? And me, literally in a pair of jeans and a leather jacket. I looked like an absolute idiot. But just before I'd started, my straps that hold my knees on the bike had broken.
Okay.
And I sort of didn't realise, and I started riding down the hill, and the strap fell off. So I started sliding off the bike, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna fall off." And this was just going down the hill. I managed to stay on I got to the bottom of the hill, and turned it around and put my landing gear down and stopped. And I was like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do?" And I saw this guy all dressed up in funny leathers, and I shouted to him. Of course, we've got full face helmets on, so I'm like going, "Dude, come over here, come over here, come over here." And this guy comes over, right? And it's he was the world speedway champion. It's the American guy from Monster.
Greg Hancock.
Greg Hancock. Yeah. That's the dude, right? He comes over. I kind of realise who it is as he walks over to me, and I'm like, "Hey, mate, can you get me some? I need some tape or something to strap my knees on." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "I can't." And we're rushing, right? Because the queue is getting seriously short in front of me.
Right.
I'm about to start, and I'm going, "No, look, I can't walk and stuff, so you need to strap me on," right? So he's looking at me like I'm some kind of idiot, like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do?" And then he says, "Oh, wait there," and he runs over past my over to the behind me, and he sees the Ferrari mechanics for their Formula One car that's about to go up later on. And he gets some gaffer tape from them.
Obviously, they've got gaffer tape.
Of course, because they're the Ferrari team,
Carbon
aren't they?
gaffer tape, yeah.
He comes back with this gaffer tape, and he just starts taping me on, literally onto this motorbike. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is such a weird situation. Like, the world speedway champion is gaffer taping me onto this bike. But he does it like mega, mega tight. But which is really dangerous to someone with a spinal injury like mine, because obviously I can't feel if he's literally cutting off the blood supply or whatever. So now I'm kind of totally panicking, like, I think he's done it up too tight. But how do you tell, like, this like icon of motorsport, like, "Dude, you're gaffer taping me up wrong"? So I just let him do it and just prayed.
Just went for it.
And then I rode up off the hill. I did see him later on, actually, at the kind of
brilliant
dinner, and I managed to explain it all to him.
Oh man, he's a nice guy too. Really, really nice.
He was really nice, and I tell you, he's got great gaffer tape skills.
Yeah, oh, man. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get your take on that, actually, because social media has become such a massive thing. You were saying about people wanting selfies and stuff now, and I think you've obviously been at, I'd say, the forefront of that too, in a way, with YouTube and Road Bike Party, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked earlier, and it's got like 15+ million views, I think, now, which is incredible, dude.
Yeah, it is. I mean, those videos are very good to me. Yeah, I think I've been really lucky to go through the process of how media and sport has changed.
Yes.
So when I first started riding, to get sponsored, you needed to win stuff. And then I went through the process of realising that the only way to reward your sponsors was to get in magazines. So I focused on that.
Yeah.
And I literally used competition results to just tick the boxes of what a pro rider needs. So
that's crazy how it's changed, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah, I mean, it was about being world champion to begin with.
Yeah.
Then it was about how many front covers have you had. And then all of a sudden it was about live events. How many people are you in front of each year? Yeah. So I started riding on live shows everywhere I could. And then YouTube came along, and suddenly video so accessible, and then you've got someone like Danny just blowing up, you know, and suddenly he was a superstar in a like the day after he'd put his video out, he was a superstar,
a true household name.
And he'd literally put bikes in, 10 million people's house, which is just like, I'd probably been spending half of my career to that point trying to reach the same amount of people. He did it in a week, and I was like, well, I need to be able to do that. And I knew my riding was pretty good, but I knew I could see that the stuff that did well on YouTube was stuff that was quite manufactured and different. So, the idea I had for Road Bike Party worked perfectly for that.
Definitely. Was that all your idea then, Road Bike Party?
Yeah, well, it came about because there used to be an event called Bike Radar Live that MBUK used to run, and they were doing that for the second year, and they decided to introduce a road criterion to it. So one of the publishers at Future Publishing, a guy called Pete Stoddard, who I now work with at Global Mountain Bike Network, he suggested that we did a little video where I did a wheelie on a road bike outside their offices, and they would put it on their website, and it would kind of like show that mountain biking and road were coming together at Bike Radar. And I sort of was like, oh man, really, a wheelie? You know what I mean? Like, oh. And I was like, dude, let me have the bike for a week, and I'll come back with something. And I come back with this real shoddy video. I thought it was a shoddy video to promote Bike Radar Live, where I basically did a few pretty lame stunts on a road bike. Didn't do much, but it did give me like 3 or 4 days of trying to do different things on a road bike, and I just suddenly was like, oh my God, you can do anything on this bike. And I mean, road bikes, I've always thought are beautiful things, I've always really liked them. So I gave Pete this video, and they used it to promote Bike Radar Live. It's still on YouTube, I think. And it's me riding a rally road bike. And it's kind of like the pre-bike Road Bike Party video. It's basically the idea, but just not I haven't fully entered into the idea, haven't explored it. And then I just banged on for like probably 2 years to people saying, I want to do a really good road bike video. And this video for Bike Radar Live had done really well. It had probably got 3 million views, which to them was just like an incredible hit, But they were like, no, you've done it now. You've got to do something different. And I was like, no, I haven't even scratched the surface of what you can do on these bikes. And then, so I just went off and found the funding and stuff myself. And I just knew it was going to be hilarious. I just knew. I was like, I've got to make it because I know I'm going to laugh so hard at it. But I was a little bit worried what other people would think about it. I wasn't convinced other people would like it, but I knew it would be funny. So I knew that there was a little bit of a get out in terms of like, if people didn't like it, I could be a bit like, it's just a bit of fun. So there was a bit of pressure on me, but not that much. And just got a bike, talked some people into giving me a bike, and I found a bit of money to pay for the videographer. It was Robin Kitchen. He was a good friend, great videographer, and we worked on it, and I just went mental with it. And then once I'd got that video going and it did really well, and it kind of was my moment on YouTube, which I was so lucky to get because it kind of kept me current, and up to date. And at that time I was basically, I wasn't probably going to get any better. And the dawn of a new era of riders like Daniel was very much that was very much happening.
Yeah, it's cool though that you're aware of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people I guess aren't, and they just sort of let it pass them by.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, I was really lucky to have that.
Yeah.
And that kept me going through that sort of era, and I guess that era is still happening, digital revolution, if you like. And yeah, and then obviously that led to. But again, I had the same problem after Road Bike Party One. I was like, man, now I am going to go nuts. And everyone was like, you've done it now. What you? They said exactly the same thing as when I did it the first time. I was like, no. Like, you just don't get it. You can, like, these bikes are really. It's a really cool but really stupid idea, which makes it really interesting in video because you've got this like, should I think this is cool or is it just like stupid? And you can't ever decide, I don't think. And there's just something really funny about pulling a trick on a bike that wasn't designed to do it and it somehow still look kind of good, but you're wearing the wrong clothes. Then it's like, I don't know what to do with this in my head. It's really bizarre.
Well, I found it really cool sort of going back and revisiting some of those videos. It's been amazing. Like I was sat watching TV with the missus the other day and I'm like, you've got to watch Road Bike Party. Like, we've got to watch it again. I just had it on the big screen. It's awesome.
I haven't watched them for a while. The second one for me is hard to watch. It is definitely a moment in time, but it's also a moment in someone's life. And it's very, I've seen it a lot of times because when we did the edit, obviously I had to see the video a lot. It certainly wasn't an easy thing to do.
I was curious too, sorry to interrupt, I read it in an interview that Road Bike Party 2, was that kind of aiming to be sort of like your last edit almost, would you say?
No,
was it not? Okay, I don't know.
No,
just say no.
It's difficult. I want to make sure that I'm not, like I said, when you do an interview, sometimes you give an answer that's scripted, maybe not scripted. But, you said before, I don't want to do that. Okay. The Road Bike Party 2 is not the video that I had planned. Obviously, I got halfway through it and I've got to be difficult. I've got to be careful here because I do some sort of like I do a few talks here and there, like motivational talks and stuff. And talking about this video, I talk about it in this speech. Okay. But once you've done it like 5 or 6 times in front of crowds, you say the same thing, and it's got kind of punchlines. And I don't want to say that to you. It's hard to talk about it now. I've just realised without just saying what's in my head when it comes to this. So I started making a video, and my idea was for at the start of the video was I wrote a list out of everything I can do on a bike or have ever done in terms of a trick list or dream obstacles. And I was like, right, I'm not only going to do a road bike video, I'm going to do everything I've ever done or dreamed about on a bike in one video on the wrong bike. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to give it everything I've got and see where I can get to. And can I achieve all the things I had? So I had, I'd spent a lot of money on it, making things and,
I know the bike was like insane.
Well, the bike itself, but I actually was making obstacles and making sets and really, sculpting something. And I got barely halfway through it. When the accident happened, I was at doing a live show. It wasn't actually filming for Road Bike Party, but I was midway through the process of filming Road Bike Party, which basically was bolted around my life riding as a, riding on shows and stuff. And I just, was so lucky when I'd had the accident to still be able to kind of, save it, to be able to just ring up Chris and Danny and go, lads, I've got a seriously big deal going on here. What can you do? And they were just both literally like, well, up for it. It's easy to look back now and go, oh, well, they just did some stunts on a road bike, but they're taking like big risks. And they're midway, they're riding their careers too. Danny was midway through a big video project. Chris was doing 2 videos at the same time, I think. And, they plan their year out just like anyone else, They managed to fit it in
and did an awesome job as well.
They did an incredible job, and Danny managed to. I mean, I gave them both very loose direction in terms of what I wanted from each one of them. So I really wanted Chris to be very Chris with the bike, so go out into the wilderness and ride over rocks, and then Danny, I really wanted the Danny
railway carriages and stuff.
Yeah, railway carriages and bouncy ball. But I was really fortunate that he could do the loop, because we'd both weirdly in our own careers spotted that loop, which is in Manchester. Separately, and had both unknowingly been planning to put it in videos. So he wanted to do it, but he was going to do it on his own bike for another video, and I'd spotted it for Road Bike Party too, and I had never done a loop, so I'd bought an airbag. I had an airbag specifically built, measured for that loop, so I could practice it, and put it in the video, but. That I never got to do it. I practiced an open loop with the airbag, and that was working really well. And I built an open loop, which no one did in the end. But Danny could go to that loop, and because he'd used a loop and ridden it literally hundreds of times in Imaginate, he could just do it. So we managed to get that obstacle in anyway. So I was really lucky with things like that. Little twists of fate, which meant that. Maybe that video was always supposed to happen somehow. So it's really sort of poignant for me, because obviously really tells quite
a huge part of your life too, right?
Quite a painful story, but also a big achievement. So it's sort of bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the interviews I've read and whatnot about your accident. Are super inspiring, obviously, and obviously it was a very tragic moment in your life. But I can't wrap my head around how you managed to stay so calm and stuff, and how positive you were through the whole situation. And I guess it's not really a question around this, to be honest with you. It's just me freestyling. But how on earth did you manage to do that, stay so positive? And like I said, I've read a few things, and a lot of the stuff you said was, you knew straight away it was happening, but you were calm and you looked at the sky, and is that just years and years of doing stuff and just kind of?
I don't know. It's tricky. It's a hard one to answer, because it's really easy to sort of make up some story that sounds cool. Oh yeah, man. I mean, the truth is, when I did have the accident, there was a really crazy moment where. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know the answer to it, but I did know exactly what had happened, literally the moment it had happened.
Right.
So I was never under the illusion of. I had a moment where I was like, I was weirdly, when I crashed, I was really winded as well as what had gone on. I kind of landed on the ground, and it's kind of funny. We've all been winded, right? We've all had that, the air's just gone out of you. Yeah. And even when you break your spine, right, that doesn't hurt as much as being winded. So it was really funny. So I was winded straight away, but I knew, even as I was winded, I knew what had happened.
Yeah.
And that's probably because... I don't know if your body tells you, or I have actually broke my back before. I broke it in 2003. So I don't know if I'm just experienced.
But I read that on the... Yeah. It's on Wikipedia, and I read it. And, when you've only read half an article, I was looking back, I'm like, 03? No, it can't be. And I'm thinking, counting on my fingers, I'm like, how old am I? What's happening?
No, it's not. Yeah, no, I broke my back in 2003. But I just had skeletal damage, not spinal cord.
Right.
So I just, crushed some vertebrae and had some cracks, and, I don't know how long. Lizzie, how long was I off the bike for? Maybe 6 months? My poor wife's having to listen to it.
It's fine.
This is a good story. Have you heard it before, love? Once or twice.
Oh, man.
So I knew that I'd hurt my back, but I knew that I was paralysed. I don't know. But then obviously once you start feeling around, it's very obvious. So I remember telling Robin, who's Robin Kitchen, was also the manager of the tours I rode on for Animal. Yeah. He sort of come over to me, and I was laid on the floor, and I said to him, you know, "Oh, dude, I can't feel my legs," you know, and he could tell. He was like, "Oh shit, this is really serious." But I just instantly felt like, okay, I was under no illusion straight away. I did have this weird moment where I was just, you know, big deep breath, it was a really nice day. I was looking at the sky, and I was thinking, okay, well, there's no point losing it over this right now. You know, just be very focused on the simple things. You know, don't make this. I think my overriding thought was, don't make this any more difficult than it needs to be. So people are going to ask you questions, answer them. Yeah. You're going to breathe in and out, concentrate on it. Yeah. You know, your heartbeat is happening, you know, think about it. Just don't do any more than the bare minimum, because this is going to be wild. You know, like, I'm about to go through a process I haven't been through before. So you're laid on the floor, and it's going to be, I just knew it was going to be ambulances, medics, hospitals, doctors. It was all coming. It was going to be a huge wave of energy. Yeah. And the last thing it needed was some guy in the middle of it flapping his arms around, going,
you know, that's like you say, you're almost like self-meditated and really mindful of what was going to happen, which is,
I guess, mindful is probably what it was. Just I was just being mindful and being really, you know, but I'm really clear about it. I can remember lots of things of it. I mean, I don't know if I've said this to you before, but I in the interviews you've read or something, but I remember getting in the helicopter, because I was airlifted out of there, and they put me in this helicopter. I've never been on a helicopter, and even with the situation I was in, I was thinking, I don't really like flying. I go on a helicopter, and it was really noisy, crazy noisy, and I was just thinking, it's really noisy, but it's bloody smooth. You can hardly tell. It's really, I guess this is actually quite a good way to get around.
Yeah.
I said to the guy, man, it's smooth though, isn't it? He said, we haven't taken off yet. It's just warming up. For ages. And I was like, how is this quicker than cars? It's like, it takes like an hour to warm up. I mean, it was one of those moments where it was all, it was all going on, and it needed, you know, it needed peace and quiet, not aggression and energy. And panic's never really a good thing. So I try it, but
and I'm guessing that whole experience has really obviously stayed with you through your life. Has it made you like a more mindful and, I hate the word, but spiritual kind of guy? Or
well, don't hate the word. It's fine.
You know,
I mean, I am.
It's the first time I've used it on this podcast. That's
I hate to say it on your podcast for the second time, but I am a very spiritual person. That is kind of what I'm like. I love that side of life. I have always delved into it, and I've always used it. And since my accident, I've used it even more. Right. You know, it's just one of those things that I've had to use it, because I definitely had a period after my accident where 6 months afterwards my mum passed away, and it was a really difficult time, but also a really amazing learning experience, because I was going through what, you know, any professional rider would say is like the worst thing that could ever happen. You know, I was paralysed from the waist down, and my career was over, and I was 6 months out of hospital and didn't know what I was going to do. And then my mum passed away, and I realised what we all realise when people who we love, you know, leave us, is that that's the worst thing that happens. And it put everything into perspective. You know, I haven't been through, with my accident, anything as bad as anyone else goes through in life. You know, it's just, you know, the big things are the really big things, you know, and this is just another challenge. But after that time, you know, I really had a period where I struggled with it, and I was definitely depressed. I was thinking things that I didn't recognise as stuff I would think, very negative. I had to really concentrate on being, you know, looking into different types of thinking, you know, different philosophies, different types of stuff that would help me through it. Yeah. And I used all sorts of things, but you know, you just got to.
It's a cool subject, is like meditation and stuff like that. It's you find it always pops up with successful and inspiring people. They always seem to use it as a tool, and I think it can get overlooked. I did a like a mindfulness course ages ago. Yeah, honestly, man, it was a life changer. Like, it genuinely was. You know, I guess suffer with, like, I don't know, anxiety and stuff. That's just part of running businesses and stuff like that. But being able to sort of like separate yourself from that and look at your thoughts and put things into perspective, like you said, so important.
Yeah, I think finding perspective is really. I did a session with a few sessions actually in a row with this group of people who are all sort of suffering from depression. It was almost like a counselling group,
right?
And I remember going in and thinking, I kind of did this. The first session I went to, I clocked everybody's situation. There's about 7 people in the group, and very different walks of life, different ages, different problems. And I was thinking, man, I've won this for sure. There's no way anyone in this room has got the story I've got to tell. You know, I'm the megastar in this room with issues. And I was just thinking, you know, I'm going to listen. I'm just going to listen, you know. So I listened to a lady talk about her husband, and someone else talk about, you know, anxiety and agoraphobia, and someone else, and then this little old lady talking about depression. Right, so she was depressed, and she was depressed because her little dog she's got, I can't remember what it was, Yorkshire Terrier, I think. Maybe a Jack Russell, can't remember. Dog's not important in terms of breed. Right. It barked a lot, basically.
Okay.
Barked a lot because it wanted to go out for a walk. Her neighbour hates the dog, right? So her neighbour hates her because of the dog, and this lady's basically frightened to go out because her neighbour keeps standing in the living room window and sticking her fingers up at her and calling her names.
Whoa.
No one else believes her, but this person keeps doing it. And I remember thinking, really? Is that your story? I'm like, I'm a megastar mountain biker who's been paralysed in a riding accident and his career's just ended. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And as the sort of like sessions went on, I sort of realised that it doesn't really matter how you get there.
No,
it doesn't really matter how you get to the place. Like, the fact is, this old lady who was trying really hard had depression. She wasn't depressed. She had depression. Yeah. And it was because she had a little yappy dog.
And that's it in her world, like.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I'd got to this place. I wasn't there because of depression. I didn't really fit into a category, I don't think. But I think mine was the thing I needed to deal with was very obvious. It was like life-changing. Yeah. So, you know, head was a bit screwed up. But probably wasn't even in anywhere near as bad situation as some of these people. And they've got there because of just shit reasons.
Yeah.
But they were the reasons.
They were their reasons, yeah, exactly, yeah.
It doesn't really matter. So you've got to have a way of dealing with it no matter what it is. And we've all got that stuff going on. It doesn't matter whether you broke your back in a, you know, live show that sounds super cool, or you really don't like the walk to work because you get wet every day, or whatever. Wherever you've ended up, you're going to have to deal with it, and using things like mindfulness and meditation and spiritual teachings of certain kinds. I'm being very broad there because I wouldn't like to judge. I don't know how to discuss that stuff really. I've definitely got the things I like, but I'm sure there's lots of people's views on that. It would be quite interesting to hear. And I've used all that stuff, and it's been incredibly, incredibly helpful. And it's how I deal with life.
Awesome. All right, bro. From now on, you need to start speaking the Queen's English too, so people who don't live in Stocksbridge know what you're saying.
I might struggle with that one.
Perfect pronunciation. I can't even say the word, man, from now on.
I always feel like I'm speaking the Queen's English.
Do you?
Yeah, most of the time. It feels like I'm saying words right and stuff, but obviously I'm not.
No. It was so good, man, when you did the podium interview. I was like, oh, fucking sick. So cool. Man, you won Hardline.
Yeah, mad one, eh?
Proper. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
literally.
Me neither, man. Me neither.
Dude.
I was like fully crazy.
Innit?
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Were you not?
No, I was like, literally, I thought, I don't know, I guess I had a good quali and I was like, I was close, but then I was just like, I'll just do a smooth run and like try and enjoy it. And got down and was in first and was like, whoa, that's not what I expected at all.
Flew right now. He didn't sound good, but I was like, did you go with Craig to his first race? He's like, oh yeah, you need to ask him about Mount St. Anne, and did you get stuck in Times Square or something like that for a little while?
Yeah,
dragging up the pass, dude.
Yeah, so we flew to JFK, New York, because we had to go to Wyndham after. So we flew to JFK and we were driving up to Canada and then back down for Wyndham.
Right.
So I was supposed to meet Jobo and Dunk at JFK, but their flight got cancelled. So I flew in and was on my own, didn't have a rental car or anywhere to stay. So I was just like, what do I do? I'm here with my bike box and I've got nothing. I've never been to a race abroad before. I didn't know what I was doing. So anyway, Jobo was like, ring this guy called Jorn. He's a German guy who runs one of the teams. Like, go meet him. He'll let you stay in his hotel. So I'm like, sick. I'll find this guy. And so I ring Jorn. He's like, yeah, I'm in Manhattan. I'm in Times Square. Come meet me. And I'm just like, Times Square, yeah, it'll be easy to find. It should be like this little square in the middle of in the middle of Manhattan. I'll just get a taxi to there. Got a taxi to Times Square, got dropped off. It was just like, it's like 3 big roads or something. Like, it's a big area and it's full of people and it's like midnight and it's rammed and I've got a bike box, a massive bag. I'm just like, ringing this guy called Jorn, just like, where are we meeting? Like, I'm in Times Square and it's fucking massive. So I'm just like carrying this bike box around, just like people are looking at me weird. Finally find Jorn.
Right.
Yeah, and he's cool out to carry a bike box, but he helped me carry my bike box around. But first we go to like an off license and get like a 6-pack. We're like, we'll just have a beer. and we stood having beer on the street. Didn't realise we couldn't drink on the street. Got caught by the cops.
No
way.
Then
they let us off with a fine. Yeah, and then we just cruised back to the hotel and ended up staying with him.
Welcome to racing. Like getting a fine and getting stuck.
Exactly.
So how gnarly is Hardline? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how gnarly is that track? Because I didn't go. A few people, obviously, well, most people listening to this won't have gone.
It's mega gnarly, man.
Yeah.
Like the jumps would be all right if they were like straight and easy to get speed for and stuff, but it's always like there's always like some like sketchy, rooty, wet corner or something to make it sketchy and hard to get the speed for, or just make it so you could and they're all like some weird like off-axis hip with a steep lip, and your bike just wants to G out in the bottom and stuff. So it is pretty tech. Like, it's hard work just getting through all the jumps.
And that's probably something that people don't notice on TV and stuff. Is like,
it's hard to get that across.
Angles which kind of showed it. There's, but like I said, one of the jumps is like a right-hand hip into the woods. That looked pretty sketchy, but fun.
Yeah, I think it's all really fun, and when you link it, it's such a buzz.
Yeah, a bit of what's the word? A bit of redemption as well, because it was the last year you crashed and screwed your knee up too, right?
Yeah, that was first day of practice, like first hit on that steel ramp,
right.
And just went in too fast and just got blown off the side, and tore my PCL.
Yeah, gnarly. Yeah, that's a bad one. Obviously, we saw you quite a bit after that because you were injured, and went probably went skating, but you probably shouldn't have been skating yet.
No.
But yeah, the run was this year sick, dude. Like, yeah. What can you say?
Cheers,
you won the damn thing. So
bit
good.
of luck, I think. Bit of luck, but yeah.
I don't know, man. You make your own luck, don't you? At the end of the day, qualified in 4th, you're obviously on the pace. Like,
yeah, I guess, bro. I guess.
I still can't believe it, man. One hard line, man. One hard line. Were you surprised though to get 4th in quali, or?
Yeah, really surprised.
Yeah.
So I was, really surprised. I think it was just like, because I was getting through the steep rocks quite clean. I think that just helped me. Like, I wasn't especially fast anywhere. I was riding that pretty clean like all week, to be fair. So I think that definitely helped.
Yeah, that's one thing Warner said on the commentary was like, the jumps are probably some of the not the easiest stuff, but you know it's the roots and the rocks which are like the game changer. It's that stuff that's going to get the win. You know, who's going to win?
Yeah, you don't make time on jumps. Like if you clear them, you go in the same speed as everyone else there, right? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Sick. Do you think? Oh, I was going to say it was funny because your interview at the bottom after you run, I can't remember who the commentator is or the interviewer was like. Do you think it's good enough to win? And you're like, probably not. No.
I didn't think it was, man. I didn't think it was, and like, don't know. Was unlucky for Brayton to fall off, and I was pretty gutted when he did that because he was on a charge, mate. I love watching him charge down tracks. It's sick.
He was going fast, but it is what, like you say, you know, you make your own luck, man. At the end of the day, win's a win.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take it.
Do you think winning Hardline will open up like a few doors and stuff for you as well? I mean, you said you're going to be working all winter. Is that still the same like plan right now?
Yeah. I need to get back to work really and just earn a little bit of money, but I don't know. I haven't fully sorted anything yet, so we'll see. Yeah. I think obviously that's like one event, and you're not gonna like. Obviously, it's out and it's quite a big one to get, but it's.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. It doesn't. It's not.
Dumb it
it's
down,
not a
man.
career. It's not a career, is it? It's not like you don't. I don't know if you get. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it definitely opened up a lot of people's eyes, man. I think and it's like all the hype around it and stuff is just like, it's just sick, isn't it? It's perfect. I wanted to ask you where the name Sevens came from. I know that's random, but I'm curious.
I don't think I can tell you anymore.
Why?
Can I? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Come on.
So basically, I've got a long foreskin.
Is that where it came from?
Instead of having a foreskin, it's a 7-skin.
I genuinely didn't know that. It's amazing.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Now everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
The Anteater, Craig Evans.
The Anteater.
Oh, brilliant. I'm a massive fan of the whole thing, like the whole 50-1 thing, which obviously we'll get into in a little bit, but I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing. Like, the whole, and I don't mean just Sheffield, but the whole sort of like, God, I don't really know how to explain it. That sort of riding scene that you guys are kind of pushing, I'm a massive fan of that sort of stuff. Just having fun, like not, racing's cool and everything, but that whole like just fun. You got all of the it used to be clay spades, I guess, but whatever they are now, tree things or whatever it is, I don't know. But that whole crew that's going on in Sheffield is just amazing, and that's like proper flourished in the last few years. Like since we started Hook It, really, like sort of like. 4 years ago, I think, those guys got involved in the woods. They've brought over that, like, well, as you know, that sort of like skate mentality to it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I have a lot to thank Max for. I sort of met Max. Crazy, he doesn't live far from me at all. And we only just sort of met like 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Funny way how we met. We both met mid-air. There's a jump that crossed, and I went on one way of jumping it, and he crossed me just behind me, just missed me.
Right.
And then before we'd even met, and then it was a cool way to meet.
Definitely.
Nearly nailing each other. But yeah, like his mentality and everything, and like when I first met him, he was so fresh in mountain biking, didn't really have an idea. Yeah. Well, like I remember Steve met Petty.
Okay.
And I introduced him, and like Petty was like, "What's your name again, mate?" Like, just didn't know who Steve was at all. And it was like, yeah, they just did it. They just rode because they loved riding.
Yeah.
And that sort of transformed my like local, which is Warncliffe, because like I used to ride and do fast laps and ride steep stuff, and then meeting them helped me realise like what can be done, just by digging and sort of having that creative outlook. So yeah.
No, definitely, and it's been cool because although I don't get to ride in Warncliffe all that much and stuff, which is crazy because we're pretty much based there. Like it's been cool to watch all that because Mark, my business partner for people listening, Mark met like Rob, Max, and maybe Petty. I'm not quite sure about, but it was definitely Rob and Max were first. I remember him coming back and we were having a meeting. He's like, "I've met these lads in Woods. Like, they're so fresh. Like, they're just digging like crazy. What do you reckon to support them?" Yeah. And at the time, like Joystick had this cool little like digger thing that they did where they gave a percentage of all their profit back to Todd Digger Fiander in Canada. So we pretty much did the same thing with those guys. So we used to like give them a little bit of cash and like help them out with a load of product and stuff. But it's been cool, man, just to watch that whole thing like kind of grow, and that scene and that mentality. It's sick, and it's I can't say enough about positive things about those guys. It's just crazy what they've done. Yeah. Like, they're genuine.
Wait
nice
till you
kids
see what's
too.
gone down in film, mate. It's gone.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Going crazy.
I'm pretty pumped for that thing, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's got ridiculous.
But that whole that skate mentality is just rad. Like they, pretty much lived in the woods for the first few years I knew them.
Yeah,
just different.
Still do.
And I can imagine it's probably sparked a bit of a thing in you as well, like just stoked on riding and riding fun stuff again.
Yeah, big time.
Would you say that those guys influenced your riding style too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
Like sometimes I'll stress out if I've not like ridden with Max and that for a while. Like there's just like some sort of, I don't know, it just influences you to do weird things. Yeah. And like when we're filming and like Max will literally, like I've filmed him for hours to try something and still not landed it, and he's done the same with me. So
right,
it's always like, pretty like-minded people. So it helps when you know the person filming you and getting bored because you filmed them for hours before, sort of thing, and he's just always just screaming at me, just like, get it.
It's what you need, man. So, I can imagine it's proper, like, I wouldn't say brought you riding on, but like just totally changed your style and that.
Yeah, it has brought me on. It has brought me on for sure. Yeah, right. Like if Max is there or like Petty, oh man, just if they're there, you got to raise your game up.
Yeah,
like you're just always helping each other and sort of pushing each other in a good way.
Cool. So cool. And it's awesome to see what they've done in the woods like that. I think that's something that's I might be wrong. I know I'm not speaking for everybody, but something that doesn't get neglected is you've got somewhere like Warncliffe, which has got good riding in it, but they've like stepped it up a level, like gone in and just made most of the place over. And that deserves massive props because there's not many people that'll dig every day for years and years and years just for other people to ride it.
Yeah, it's they've never ever. There's always, wherever you go in UK, people on that no dig no ride.
Yeah,
and it's just totally not that here. It's like always say hello to everyone that's riding and always chat to everyone. It's cool.
I remember that from my trail riding days back in the day. Having to get permission to go and ride places, and I can kind of see in some ways that a lot of effort goes into especially dirt jumps and making them pristine and stuff, and you don't want people just rocking up. But I remember going to a place years and years ago with a bunch of friends on mountain bikes, and they were like, "You guys can't ride here; it's BMX only." You're just like, "What the hell's that about?" Like,
I didn't even know that was a thing until in America, and we were at a skate park, and it was a skateboard only park, and I never actually thought it was a unit. Yeah.
Crazy. But anyway, Sheffield's rad. That's basically the top and bottom of it. I want to chat to you about 50 to 1 because, again, it's been cool to watch that thing kind of go from, I think it was a sticker on Josh's helmet maybe one day, I don't know, and people, what the hell's that on his helmet? That's definitely what I was doing anyway. So I want you to riff a little bit on 50 to 1, like what it is, who started it and stuff like that.
Me, Steve, Sambo, and Rat sort of just got together 4 ways. It started as All the Lads.
Yep.
We were doing that All the Lads thing, doing a few T-shirts, tie-dyeing our own T-shirts. And then we were like, we can't have an hashtag as our brand, like, pretty whack. So we moved on to, like, 50 to 1.
Right.
And then, just did a little batch of tees, like, just screen printed from a factory. And then we were like, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to do, like, good sourced quality T-shirts, like, as eco-friendly as possible. So, yeah, we never really set out to be a clothing company, but it is fun doing it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know.
It's cool, man.
Bit of everything really. Like just want to do things as good as we can, make like the nicest products. Help out everyone around us. Like we've got merch decals who are good friends, and they do all our stickers, and just try and give everyone work through it as well.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think from the outside looking in, it's probably pretty tough to figure out who's actually behind it. Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty interesting that Steve's involved.
Everyone's behind it. Everyone sort of mucks in. That's what's cool. It's like everyone who's like sort of involved and helps out all do it because they just love the vibe, and like everyone just helps each other.
Yeah.
And it's just one of them things. You know that there's always going to be someone who's keen to help you. Within our sort of group of friends, it's cool.
Definitely.
Banana Industries boys have helped us out big time.
Yeah, I need to chat to those guys pretty soon. Actually, I really want to do some like podcast T-shirts that are just nice, ethical, quality riding T-shirts. So I'm gonna speak to those guys.
Bonanza, so have a chat with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and catch them up at Bonanza. Yeah, we'll be there doing that. So did you have plans for 50 to 1 to grow at all, or have you just let it do its organic thing?
Honestly, we're so way too chilled of it, to be fair. But it's good. It's just growing in its own way.
Yeah.
And it's funny when people like think of it as like a brand, because it literally is just like a few of us at home sort of packaging. Banana Boys, they've got T-shirt printers set up in the loft, and it's like it's just all done.
Proper,
done
proper,
basically.
Yeah,
so
it's not corporate at all.
No,
that's cool.
Never, but we don't. Cool. It's not like, we don't take any money from it. All goes back in and just sort of helps to get better stuff. And
right, that's interesting. That's cool.
But the thing is, like, with what we've done, in such a short time, it's kind of a testament to the customer and the consumer not being as stupid as larger corporations would like you to believe, and you get sold.
We tell you and they'll do this, and actually no.
The customer is weary of all of the stuff, and like for every kind of we get a complaint about our attitude every now and then, but people
every now and then, every day,
complain because they are, they would complain anyway because people want to do it. But also, we've had a culture of rewarding meanness. So when Amazon doesn't deliver your Amazon Prime package, you write them a thing
and you shout at it and you get something for free,
blah blah, and they're like, "Oh, we'll send it to you for free," and blah blah. And people, we've almost been like Pavlovianly sort of like rewarding dickheadedness.
That's a fair point.
There's a time now to bop people on the nose and say, "Come on, son,
we would have done something for you.
We would have done something
we'll
nice,
replace it,
but now I'm going to take it away from you."
But people who are nice in the past and said, "Look, well, what's his name on Instagram? The one that buys all of our stuff."
Joe.
From France.
Oh God, I can't
remember. Is that like Elbin something?
No.
But either way, there's a guy, he'll know we're talking about him anyway. But he's like probably our biggest like buyer of all of the stock. And something hadn't arrived, and he didn't even tell us. He didn't tell us for like half months.
Right. Wow.
And we turned around and said, no, we'll get you a new one sent out now. And he's like, no, it's fine. He said, I'd rather the money go to you anyway. And I was like, no, it's fine.
Like, that was from that second onwards. It was like, no, motherfucker, you're getting 14.
You're getting all the stuff.
He was just like, I won't tell you, but in between ordering this and order from August, it just didn't get to me.
Wow.
Don't worry about it. I'd prefer that you had the money anyway. And I was like, no fucking way. Like on one of my beanies.
So his name is Selden.
Selden. He's like, on one of my beanies.
Shout out Selden. He'll be listening, I hope.
Albinio.
But he's such
right.
it's not just that he like he buys stuff. That's trite. It's that he's like a good dude, and he's good with the community as well. Like,
he on the cartel page on the group, he almost curates it.
Yeah, he brings in loads.
I'm
going to
make him he's going to be made an admin now. But like he does so much on there already. Like he'll talk to people and like invite them into conversation, and it's
That's
this
so
sort of culture that's happened around it just naturally. But people like that will get.
But it's weird how you can they can be all strangers. It's like I'm in a group. I really like a certain podcast called The Church of What's Happening Now, and it's a comedian called Joey Diaz.
Okay, that sounds great already.
Oh, dude, you'd love it. You'd love
the
it.
name really sounds brilliant.
You'd love it. He's a comedian. He's American, like big guy. Just you've got to listen because I think you'd enjoy it. It's nothing bike related, obviously, but like he's got this like Facebook group. And it's a lot of people in it, but it's like a support network for a lot of people. Like people put some deep shit in there. They'll be like, a guy today. I don't go on Facebook too often, if I'm honest with you. I'm trying to get away from all that stuff as much as humanly possible.
I sort of zone out of Facebook and I use it as a way to feed in garbage memes to people.
Yeah. I just use it just to check a message every now and again. But a guy put something on there today about tried to commit suicide this morning. And you're like, geez, like you're reaching out to people you don't even know, and everyone's so supportive.
I got my hand up. Can I talk about something really quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. I know this is a long version of this podcast, but it's really, really important to me. Especially, I can't give you like the statistics around it, but you just got to take what I'm saying as gospel. Recently, I've seen like a bunch of my friends sharing a picture of a guy riding a bike in the woods, happy, and underneath it a picture of antidepressants, and it says, "This is an antidepressant. This is shit."
Implying that antidepressants is shit and the bike is the real antidepressant.
Okay, so I'd like straight up, I'm just going to say, if you look at that and you're like, yeah, I agree with that, I'm happy because you're not someone that has suffered with depression or suicidal thoughts. And for me and for Tim and a lot of guys our age, I think it's really important to raise like awareness, but like kind of stop this toxic masculinity thing where guys are not allowed to be depressed and they're not allowed to be sad and you should pull your stuff away. The number one cause of death in young men is suicide, and that is not changing anytime soon.
Of non-accidental death.
Non-accidental death is suicide. And it's something that we need to start talking about, because I've had friends that have ridden bikes their whole lives and they're still killing themselves. What would you prescribe? Riding more bikes?
Yeah, but it's insulting, isn't it?
That people have personal battles they're going on about. You don't need to be thinking about people's medication they're taking. I'm going to be honest, I'm already embarrassed enough that I'm taking antidepressants. That's something I was born with. I'm not sad because I'm not happy. I'm not just feeling a bit blue and I should do a bit of exercise. Doing exercise does make me feel better. Keeping busy does make me feel better. But left unchecked and without medication,
it becomes very dangerous very quickly, doesn't it?
Very quickly. And there has been 2 points in my life where I've tried to end it. And both of those times I've not been taking my medication because I've been told to just try and get over it.
I think do some exercise, eat differently, and it's like they all have their own merits, but they're all things that go all together, together with exactly the same.
Like a complete package almost, yeah.
It's the same puzzle, aren't they?
Yeah. Doctors are there to help people, and if we're reaching out to a lot of people right now.
Yep.
If you've ever struggled with stuff and you felt like you're unable to talk to anyone, you can like you should talk to a professional, and you should reach out to your friends and tell them how you feel, because I don't want to lose any more people in the world just to try and put a brave face on it, man.
Or exactly as you said, like with that group, like if you think you're in a position where you can, like there's another page. You reminded me of that. Like as soon as you said it, there's some stupid. It's a cat group, right? It's just cats. It's a shocking group of Den Cato. It's like 30,000 followers. Every now and then there'll be this post of like, I've broken up with my boyfriend, or so and so's died and I'm heartbroken. Send me pictures of cats. But then you look in the comments and it's people just wholeheartedly spewing their entire, trying to help this random person, and it's really nice seeing it.
Yeah, it is for sure.
And and just because you don't feel like it doesn't mean that other people don't have their own little things that they're getting on about. They're not being tiny little snowflakes. They're not being babies who just can't handle it. They're going through things that you can't possibly imagine. And there's got to be there's got to be a way that people like us can help.
Definitely. It's interesting because it's really hard to put yourself in that situation. There was someone talking about it on the radio yesterday that they were saying, if you felt depression, and if your friends felt depression, say, and you're both in the same room, the chances are you both had extremely different experiences of it as well, Totally. And again, on a personal level, I've gone through stuff myself, and it's something I've never spoke about, especially on here. But I really struggle with anxiety and stuff like that, and it's something that we do need to speak about a lot more. In fact, an episode of a little while back, just after Chester Bennington had died, I did a little bit of a tribute at the start, and it was like, played some Linkin Park and said, look, if you're struggling with mental health, reach out and speak to someone. And kind of on this one, doing it the same, it's not a suicide, well, it's not a suicide, thankfully, but, AC/DC.
Passed away.
Yeah, just passed away. I can't, Malcolm Young, I think. So AC/DC is on the start of this one, AC/DC is on the end. A little bit of a tribute, it's nice, yeah.
And for us, one of the saddest rap artists we know, Little Peep, recently passed away from a drug-induced overdose, which no one knows whether it was accidental or whether it was on purpose. But he was going through some really, really bad stuff.
Was this the tattooed YouTube guy? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
But for him, there was loads of people making money off his sadness, and no one was there to help him. So he was in front of millions of people, and no one was reaching out.
Yeah.
So you don't need to feel alone either. There's other people that can, there's help out there. I just want just when you get a platform to say something, say it.
For sure.
And if it doesn't affect you, don't worry about it, man.
Yeah,
you can walk away, and there's nothing for you to do.
There's no obligation. There's no problem. It's just that's how it is.
And sometimes when someone's telling you they've got a problem, either do something or do nothing, but don't tell them to just buck themselves up.
Yeah, stiff upper lip.
Stiff upper lip is over, man.
Yeah, sit and talk. It's a lost art. Sit and have a chat. All right, we are rocking and rolling. I need to put on my different podcast host, radio host voice.
Different voice? Hello there, and we're live.
I know I just said it before, man, but so it's on record too. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
No, man, not at all. Thank you. You've been on the guest list on the hit list for a little while. Been wanting to reach out and stuff, but this
I'm sure I'm on a few hit lists, so good and bad.
So yeah, thanks again, man. It's much appreciated. I'm gonna guess this is probably your first podcast too, right?
Have I done a podcast before? I guess not. With Ryan Leach, I did one. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool because Ryan did one many years ago.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he had me on one of his that we sat down at a table and just hammed it up for a bit, and it was interesting. So yeah, you didn't bust my cherry.
But damn it!
Damn it!
I popped a few cherries on this thing, but I wish I'd got yours. Never mind, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, there you go. I gotta be honest.
No, I noticed that on iTunes a while ago that Ryan Leach had one. But yeah, I don't know, man. This thing's kind of blown up over the last sort of year or so. It's crazy. We've had some awesome guests, obviously like yourself, who have been great. And it seems to be growing and growing. So just keeping going, keeping it organic too, man. I'm not too keen on heavily pushing it and stuff. It just let people come to us and let it do its thing. It's really cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
So I usually like to start these things off by sort of asking you a little bit about your childhood. I know that's not too deep, but
my childhood, no problem. I had a great childhood.
Kind of figuring out, where you grew up and stuff like that, and how you ended up becoming a mountain biker, really.
Okay. I was born in Vancouver and spent a number of years in different suburbs of Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Grade 1 was in Calgary, Alberta. Our kindergarten was, and grade 1 was Red Deer, Alberta, and then I lived in grade 2 out on a lake, like 2.5 hours in the bush from Kamloops. My dad was a school teacher, so we're in a one-room school. And then I spent grade 3 in Texas, Houston, Texas, in the States.
Nice.
And then we moved to Kamloops. I lived there ever since.
Okay.
But all the way along, my dad, rode bicycles as a young kid, and he'd always take me on bicycle rides. And we'd ride from town out into the countryside, however, many kilometers or miles or whatever it was away. Yeah. And he would bring some art supplies, and he'd end up setting up and doing some sketching out in the hills, or in the countryside. Uh-huh. And he'd take those sketches and he'd turn them into paintings, and he would sell the paintings.
No way.
He was a school teacher, but we'd end up riding miles and miles to get to the countryside and back. And I was a little kid, just like pedaling along. So I was literally mountain biking,
yeah.
Off-road bicycling, anyways, at the very least, in the 70s.
Wow.
And it was a real bond I had with my dad, and it was cool. And all the places that we'd go along, he knew what a thrill it was to go downhill. So he used to drop me off on shuttles in the 70s, like up on the top of the hill, whether they were like somewhere like cement shuttles. I'd take like a 5-speed or 10-speed and just really hammering these downhills. Yeah. And then some of them would be off-road, like even on like BMXs and bikes that were precursors to a real mountain bike.
Wow.
And so I was shuttling way back in the 70s and 80s as well. So he was into it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I found out years later that he rode a teeter-totter in the 50s that was at his school in Alberta. And so he rode a teeter-totter in the 50s, like a North Shore typical move,
Yeah.
Pretty. Well, he did it once and once only, but he did do it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, grew up riding, 5-speed, 10-speeds, BMXs when eventually they came out. My parents got me a couple dirt bikes. Mm-hmm. And so always just loved bikes. And they found a photo of me with a tricycle that they put into my crib. And I woke up and there was this giant tricycle there. And I'm just like, they got the photos. I woke up and I'm reaching out for the bike, like with the look of bike love on my face. So it was pretty cool. So I've been very fortunate to have great parents who are into, sports and cycling and whatnot. So I'm very blessed there.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you've had some awesome experiences too with your dad, and the sketching thing's really cool. Do you think like that really inspired you when you were younger to get into sort of photography and like the artistic side of mountain biking maybe?
Oh, I would say yes. Like even actually directly doing art myself, I used to do a lot of sketching, and then I would take blank t-shirts. I'd buy 100 blank BPT t-shirts, and I would draw on them with embroidery pens and then airbrush the backgrounds. And I would do like mountain bikers or snowboarders or skiers or animals or people's Mustang cars or hot rods, or their Harley, whatever I could make money at. And I would custom paint t-shirts. Wow. And it was a way to have some extra money for beer money when I used to drink and or entry fees for snowboard races when I was like racing amateur and stuff. Yes. And lift tickets, et cetera. And that was directly from my dad doing art. Wow. And as I moved into being a free rider, the hunt for a good shot, it's very similar to the hunt for a good painting. You're trying to get the composition just right, and it really helps you have an eye for what would be a good shot. And if there's a big tree over there, you got 2 small trees there, it kind of bounces out. And if you ride through the center and just trying to get the good shot, right? And
yeah,
so it's been a lifelong pursuit of getting the shot, whether it's a painting or an airbrush T-shirt or a photo with Marcus Riga or Ali DeLillo or Sterling Lawrence or whoever, right? So it's definitely been ingrained in my brain, and something I still enjoy today.
For sure. That's awesome, man. That's super cool. Like, obviously something I wanted to touch on a little bit while I have you here, because it's obviously something that you've spoke about in interviews before. I mean, there was obviously probably a bit of a darker side to what you were doing too, which was like the partying side of it. Would you say? Is that something that you kind of
side came later?
Oh, did it? Okay. So
I was always a partier.
Yeah.
I love drinking beer with the guys, and I burned them as well. That's about all I really did.
Right.
And at one point, it was really fun, and it was pretty healthy partying for a while because it was just beer and some weed or whatever. But it was tough because everywhere you'd go, people would want to, to drink with you.
Yeah.
And do drugs with, and it'd be offered all this stuff all the time. And, in Whistler, a lot of the establishments have a promo tab where they have money set aside for people who are good for business. And I was one of those guys that were good for business, because when I came, I usually showed up with a bunch of friends and we'd all get loaded and drop, big wads of cash.
Yeah.
And, sometimes some places would have like $1,500 a night. They would just spend on people who were good for business.
Wow.
So I'd show up and, or they'd drag me walking by the place. Wouldn't even be in, I'd go inside. Hey, Tip, come on in,
Yeah.
And it'd be like 2 beers and 2 shooters set up right there. And you'd try and pay. They wouldn't let you pay. I throw $20 in the tip jar and they throw my money back at me.
Wow.
It was just like, free booze. And then plus you run into people at the table from different wherever, and people are always trying to buy you beer. And I just love partying with people and talking with people. So I end up getting loaded all the time.
Right.
And you're young, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
And it was tough not to party all the time because it's fun and it's interesting, but you're also getting wasted all the time, which was tough to do. And, I had some breakups with some girls, and, I'm a pretty emotional guy, and
I
experimented at one point with some harder stuff. And I've never really done it before. And when I discovered it, I was like, wow, that's really fun. And I kind of got carried away with it, or got very much carried away with it. And it got a hold of me.
Yeah.
And I spent a number of years doing it. And when I tried to get out, I couldn't get out.
Right.
And I was on myself very much addicted and very, very, it was like I was possessed by myself, and I would find myself going to do it even though I didn't want to.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. And it had taken over my life, and I ended up losing everything that I'd built up and everything that I'd loved. And I hid out from my friends and family because I didn't want them to see me like that.
Right.
And I disappeared for a number of years. And it was very fortunate that my dad never gave up on me. My dad pulled me back from some bad places.
Right.
And I eventually went to rehab, and I learned a few things, some tools, they call them.
Do you mind me asking why you sort of made the decision to go to rehab? Was there someone that really pushed you there, or did you realize yourself like this is I'm not in a good spot, I need to go figure
I realized I was in a good spot, but I never wanted to go to rehab because I said to myself, you know what, I got myself into this mess, I'll get myself out.
Yeah.
And if I had tried so many times to quit and I'd failed, and I thought if I go to rehab and I fail, I'll be out to sea forever. Like I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that I'd broken myself. And Sarah, can you give me the charger for the computer? It's going to die soon. Please. Thank you. But it's right there. Thank you. I didn't. Sorry.
Thanks, Sarah.
I went to rehab after my grandma died, and my dad came and said, you know what, we lost my mom, we lost her grandmother, the family's mourning, would you please come home and mourn with the family? And I said, yes, Dad. And I came home, and I was sober for a number of months, and I went to rehab. And I screwed up a few times after rehab, for sure.
Right.
But I learned a few things there, like playing the tape forward. When you want to go party, it's all great, the energy's great, and, you want to get wasted with the guys and yahoo, but play the tape forward to when, it's a few days later or a number of days later, because I'd never stopped. I couldn't stop. I don't sleep very much, and I especially didn't sleep on that stuff. And booze and alcohol, I would just go around the clock for as many days as I could until I dropped from exhaustion. It was crazy. I was out of control.
Yeah.
So you play the tape to the end of the run, and you're like hungover, broke, jonesing for drugs, and just like that's where it ends. And so you kind of cut it in the beginning before you actually get into it. I learned how to play the tape forward.
Okay.
And eventually I got sober, and there was an old sales rep, Pete Crichton, who gave me one of his demo fleets, one of his bikes from his demo fleet on an old Rocky Mountain, and I started riding bikes again, and I was like, oh my God, that's fun.
Yeah.
And I went down to Crankworks and I met an incredible lady who rode bikes and was there, Sarah Fenton, who's now my wife. And
awesome.
She was just so much fun and so cool and so beautiful. And she came from a mountain bike background herself. You know, she was raised in Deep Cove, and she watched the first mountain bikes roll off the truck into the Deep Cove bike store. She actually watched bicycles roll off into the bike store before they were mountain bikes.
Right.
Like early Cook Brothers cruisers and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
That were precursors to the mountain bike.
Cool.
And so she hung out at the bike store as a young kid when they were mountain bikes, and you know, she was riding big bikes at Whistler, and I was hanging out with her and her friends and shredding laps, and I'm just like, this is awesome. You know, like, what have I been missing? So.
And how long was it in between getting out of rehab to grabbing the bike and going to Crankworks? Was there a number of months, or is it pretty quick?
Yeah, I was in rehab in March, and then I went down to Crankworks in, was it July or August? I guess probably July that year, and that's when I met my future wife. Amazing. And I ended up deciding after Crankworks visiting. My dad had chaperoned me to Derek Westerland, who made the New World Disorder movies.
Okay.
Who my dad was a school teacher, and he taught him as a young kid. And so he said, you know, Fred wants to get out of town to get away from, you know, the scene and check out Crankworks again, but do not lose sight of him. He will disappear. And so he looked after me. And then I went down and had a good time. And he returned me to my parents safe and sound. And I kept my sobriety. For like a week, and then I relapsed back in Kamloops again, and you know, and then there I go again. Then I stopped again, and then I said, you know, I got to get out of Kamloops, so I want to go back down to Whistler, and I want to get a job. And I got a job doing some construction with a friend of mine who I used to race on the national team snowboarding with, and he let me stay in his house, rented me a room for cheap, and I got a job doing construction. And I really just clung to my sobriety, just being a normal guy doing construction. And then I had hooked up with Sarah again, and we'd done some mountain biking and did some riding, and I really, really fought for my sobriety, and she helped me, and my buddy helped me, and my dad had helped me, and it was tough love, you know, and I really had it going, and I decided, you know, after not very long that this was the girl for me, and I fell in love. And I introduced her to my parents, and they'd met once. We came. My parent. We had dinner with my wife and my future wife and my parents and whatnot. And I'd visit them in Kamloops with her. But then my parents went to Mexico for holidays, and we were all going to meet up for Christmas. And so my dad ended up having a stroke and having a heart attack, and he never came back from that trip.
Oh, man.
Never made it. So the day before New Year's or Christmas Eve, he passed away. And I was very close with my dad, very, very close.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, a really, really nice thing, though, that he saw you come out of the back of that dark place, and have turned your life around and have met this amazing person.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that he did see me clean. You know, I think 7 months clean, and he got to meet Sarah, and it was very cool. You know, he was very much an intellectual man, and she's very smart as well. So, and both come from musical backgrounds, and so, you know, when they did meet, he had the guitar out, and I kind of said, "Play some music for us." And he's like, "No." I go, "Come on." So he got the guitar out, and he was singing some songs, and you know, serenaded Sarah for breakfast one morning, joking around.
Wow.
And they hit it off famously, and it was really cool. And he's just like, "You found yourself a good lady," and he was stoked on her.
That's cool.
And you know,
really nice.
And my mom said the same thing, and you know, and she got along well with my brother, and she was accepted into the family, and you know, she was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I lost my dad, and I used to joke around that it's the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I'm just like, well, he was a comedian, so I joke around. He's the worst thing that ever happened to him. He can appreciate, you know, because he's He's a funny guy.
Yeah, man.
And I love him. I miss him. It was a moment of truth. If I was gonna relapse, it would have been then and there, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. I know he's watching everything I'm doing, and I'm trying to make him proud.
Oh,
and I spent so many rides as a young kid out in the countryside with him, and growing up through life, and just I really respected him, and I want him to respect me. So I'm just trying to be a good person and pass on the love to other people, and just make him proud, you know. So.
Yeah. There we go, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that episode. Excuse the terrible production by me. Thanks again to everyone who's listened to this podcast in 2017. It's so much appreciated, you wouldn't even believe. Thank you to all the sponsors, 35bikes.com, Sax Underwear. Thank you to Main Event for supplying the music which we used. Thank you to everyone. Like, it's crazy how much this thing has grown. You wouldn't even believe. It's nuts. So please, if you haven't already, head to iTunes, leave us a little review, 5 stars if you can, write a little funny comment so we can share it on social media. And don't forget to follow us too, at The Hook It Podcast on Instagram, at Hook It Products on Twitter, and The Hook It Podcast on Facebook too. And we will be seeing you early 2018 with an awesome guest. I can't wait, it's going to be sick. And that's it. That's a wrap, folks. 2018 in the bag. Slam dunk. See you later.